switch to the new one.
All right. Yeah, we should be back.
Okay.
I'm seeing a sign that it's still the same, but I'm not a viewer. I am the big streamer.
I'm bringing it up now. I've got it up now. It's taking a minute to load. Yeah, I don't know. What the fuck? It shouldn't be having problems. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh yeah, alright. It seems. Oh no, I think it's still doing its buffering shit. Yeah, it's still buffering every few seconds on my end. Ah, bloody YouTube.
Yeah. Well, then I suppose people have to use the playback and stay behind the 2 minutes.
I don't even think that's helping. Like, I think that's also mucking up a little bit. Oh,
Damn.
actually no, that seems better now, I think. Yeah, because it's like the stream is loading in chunks, because I can see the progress bar for the stream as it's going. Yeah, I think yeah, people might just have to deal with a bit of a delay for the time being until YouTube sorts its shit out. Until YouTube sorts its shit out.
Yeah, well.
So anyway,
preamble.
yeah,
YouTube
hello,
issues.
Yeah. YouTube being a pain in the ass today for some reason. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's weird because it even starts. Even going back, it'll start. It will start eventually. Fucking buffering all the time. So whatever. Yeah, no, I don't know how much we can solve the problem. I don't know what we can do about it for now. Might just have to put up with it. I think there's the 9-minute. I'm bringing up the 9-minute of the last stream just to see if that. Yeah, that also takes a while to load. So I don't know. Maybe YouTube's just being slow today.
Yeah, indeed, Jim. You are the first.
You are first. Yeah. Let us know, Jim, on your end. Let us know if there's any problems with buffering and such, if you could. Yeah, but we're gonna just kind of continue from where we left off, I guess, for the time being, and hopefully YouTube will sort itself out. Ellie might have to go and fuck around with his settings later.
No, I can't. I have to end the stream again, and I'm not.
Well, not now. I know. That's why I said later. You might
later.
Have to
all right.
Do some shit later. See if we can. We might have to knock the quality down or something. But anyway, yes. So today we're going to be talking about the isekais again. Going to be talking about slavery in the isekais, one of the core fundamental elements, Ellie, of your isekais. You need to always have slavery in them.
Always, every story.
Every story must have slavery. And so yeah, we're gonna be watching this video. Apparently, the trope is being put on trial. That is what's happening today. It's going to court. We're gonna have to see what the jury thinks.
Well, we are going to be the defenders, of course. The
yeah, we're gonna be
Ah.
in the defense. Yeah, we're gonna be defending the sanctity of our isekais
of fiction.
Ability of fiction entirely. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I guess we might as well have you switched over to the thing. I can't tell because of the stream being a pain.
Oh no.
Have you switched over to the video yet?
No, I haven't. I'll use my fancy transition.
Yes,
whoosh.
For the whoosh. Fancy new transitions. Yeah, so I guess since the stream's being a bit funky, we might as well just get straight into it.
Oh damn, sorry, I forgot to change the the chat, because every stream has a new chat URL.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
One.
Oh no.
There you go.
You do that while I.
Jim is proudly on screen.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. So, all right. Let's. I guess without any further ado, let's get right into the show.
Anime is an art form that explores some of society's most thought-provoking and philosophical questions. Do humans truly have free will? What is justice, and who has the right to enforce it? Is a utopia possible, and what would be the cost? Wouldn't it be cool if you could buy teenage cat girls to be your slaves?
FBI, open up!
Oh no, I hate that meme so much.
I do too, but I didn't catch the start-ish. Because I had Watch Together muted, because last time I had it muted when we were with Nretsew. So
no. So no, it was a joke. It was a jest about how anime is super important questions about life.
Oh yeah.
Philosophical questions of, do robots have souls?
It's super serials. Super serials. Yeah, I have a feeling I know where this is going. I have a feeling I know where this is going already, especially if we're opening up with an FBI meme. Alright, Jim says the stream's okay now, so yeah, we'll just keep going, and we're doing it live.
Yeah.
We're doing it live. We'll just keep going and see how it goes. But anyway, yeah, let's just keep going. Let's see where we go with this after our FBI meme.
It's the year of our Lord 2023, and Truck-kun has claimed the lives of countless Japanese teenage boys and yeeted them into medieval fantasy worlds. Worlds filled with dazzling magic, mystical creatures, and for some reason, slavery. Slavery has become an increasingly common trope in isekai, but why is it so prevalent? What are these shows trying to say about slavery? To figure this out, I'll have to do some isekai research. Wait. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. Oh, no, I get it. He's gonna free all the slaves. He's gonna free them, right?
She'll do. I'll take this one.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Presentation-wise, I'm not a fan of a lot of adding sound memes and such. It's not my humor. It's not really a ding against the video.
I don't necessarily. I mean, it's not as bad as what was his name, Freeman. Remember when we had we were covering Freeman back in the day.
I can tolerate random images more than a bunch of click, fake clicks and this sound effect and FBI sound effect clip.
Open up stuff. Yeah. So I knew Shield Hero was going to come up, because that's always the classic example that everyone seems to turn to. But is she going to get into the context behind any of this?
Don't think so.
Probably not.
I mean, she didn't even mention slime as the biggest slaveholder of them all.
God damn it! I knew that was going to come at some point. But like, okay, so the problem with the Shield Hero example, right?
Context.
The context matters, because at this point, Naofumi is shown to be at the lowest of the low, right? He's been betrayed by the FOT, right? He's been accused of being the big rape man, right? He is the rapist of rapists, right? He is ostracized by the entirety of society, right? They all think he's evil, right? He has to basically do everything himself and is trying to grind up on his own. And he needs a party member. He just needs one, right? So he goes to the slave market, right? And I don't want to be one of those media literacy people, right? Because that's cringe. But literally everything about how this is portrayed is telling you that this is bad, right? it's a dark, dingy, shady environment in the tent. There's all these cages and people locked up.
Mr. Capitalist himself is a slaveholder.
Mr. Big Fat Cat Man with the top hat and this cane, and he looks like some kind of
Monopoly cover.
Monopoly man, right? Who only cares about the profits, right? And so everything about the way that this is being portrayed is telling you this is bad. This is not a good thing, right? And so, but Naofumi has no other options. He hasn't been given any other options within the world, right? And within the story. And I know that the argument would probably be something along the lines of, well, the writer could just think of something else, but that obviously what the writer wants to do is what the writer wants to do. Whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I have no issue with slavery in this because it's, if we're going to be moral about what moral messages does the show says, I don't really that's not a really first concern of mine. But yeah, Shield Hero is very deliberate in how slavery is bad, and then it uses it later to be to point out some hypocrisy, but that's another point. But yeah, it's It very much makes an effort to make slavery bad and makes sure that the viewer knows that Naofumi is at his lowest point. I mean, poor cat girl here on screen is scared of the new owner she has. That's not a good thing.
There's the other element to it where Naofumi has particular skills that make slavery beneficial in the sense of status elements and whatnot. So there is
I mean,
there is that element to it too.
He didn't have to. That being a slave wasn't a requirement for him to use those things,
right.
But
it just makes it easier, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But yeah, no, I hate that everyone uses Shield Hero for this because it shows that they don't understand what they're watching. And I think she kind of touched on the problem in this little segment, right? Where the expectation from a lot of these people tends to be you'll have a story, right? And the story's going along and it's telling its story, and then all of a sudden slavery will show up, right? So like either as a deliberate plot point like in Shield Hero, or tangentially as like a world building element. Oh, there's slavery in this world, right? These kinds of people, right? For some reason, they have this like mental brainworm where the moment something like slavery or injustice of any kind like this comes up, they immediately expect the story to pivot directly into, okay, revolution time. We have to free all the slaves and destroy the big bad, slavery mans and the system of oppression and completely fundamentally change.
Reminds me of a story, D&D story. Questionable if it's actually true, but the story goes, Necromancer is in his evil tower doing skelly bones things. All right.
Skeleton Maloney stuff.
Yeah. Over there, far in the distance, over there, Skelly Bone business is going on. Our band of heroes instead of no, not instead. The main party but then this main party is going to fight some injustice in a town by decapitate the king and install some republic kind of deal.
Oh, I think you told me about this, or I've heard about this before.
I don't think I've told it, so you might have. I guess you've heard.
Maybe it was. Maybe I've heard it, because for the one I'm remembering was something along the lines of, I think it was like a 4chan green text or something, where it was something along the lines of, you have this party and there's the Lich or whatever, and he's doing like you said. But then they get sidetracked by this one character that wants to like institute gay marriage or something in the kingdom, and does this whole thing where they overthrow the kings or whatever, and they have to install like a democracy or whatever, and then they make gay marriage a thing. And then the punchline is that the DM basically goes, the Lich King army shows up and kills everyone.
Yeah.
and then the players are like, "Yo, what the fuck? What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, maybe you should have gone and dealt with that Lich King that I told you was making an armies." You know, sounds very similar to that.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I don't remember all the details though.
Yeah, it was something about like the player was like hyper like focused on instituting gay marriage or something, and it's like. That is exactly the mentality of a lot of people like this, is they have this, I call it like brainworms, right? It's like this brainworms thing where they just physically cannot understand the concept that sometimes injustices are going to exist within a world, and there is a hierarchy of dealing with problems, right? You can't just sidetrack the entire story to go demolish, like, because then that's all the story is going to be about, right?
Well,
and if you wanted to, and look, if you wanted to write a story, right? If you wanted to write a story or an isekai, that was quite literally all about that, right? It was literally just the guy gets teleported into another world, and he sees all the injustices in the world, and he's like, man, I'm gonna fix all these problems, and it's like very deliberate, right? And he goes in, and he that's the whole point of his of the character, right? Is that he's going to turn the world into a communist utopia or whatever, right?
Sounds kind of like slime, but instead they enslave
it sounds kind of like slime. It sounds kind of like slime, yeah. But you get what I'm saying, right? If you wanted to tell that story, that's fine. That's okay, but not every story has to be about that.
Well,
right? Not every story has to derail itself the moment something like slavery or whatever comes up.
my own as a dungeon master, as I own a lot of books, a lot of thicky boy D&D books,
big books, big book man, yeah,
a lot of books. I don't think that DM handle that situation particularly well. If the party is doing something different, you either do some heavy telegraphing, putting my books back. You do some heavy telegraphing, or you just flip the story, right? But that's my.
I guess, but I can understand being frustrated when you're trying to do your
there is a moment,
and all of a sudden, this one character, because I believe it was like one out of the group, because like all the other people were like, mate, we got to go do the Lich King, and this one person was like, no, I have to institute gay marriage in my,
All right, so
I think
let me.
It's a little. It wasn't like, oh, all of the players were in alignment with this. It was like just one of the players pushing.
All right.
So
I have one small D&D story, and then we'll move on. In that, I had a guy. I had cave party brain worms that eat your mind and mind control you. All right.
Yeah.
This guy, my one player in my group, grabbed the mind-eating parasite, attached to his neck, and walked around with it. Not pulling it out or whatever, but just holding it there. And then he wanted to make a long jump across a chasm, a river, while holding the mind-eating parasite. So when he jumped and he made the jump, but then I said, all right, roll again to see if you're not slipping away. The mind-eating parasite doesn't slip from your fingers. And then it slipped from his fingers, and then I was like, what did you expect? You're holding a mind-eating parasite. I've asked you repeatedly. You are aware you are holding a mind-eating parasite.
You have a gun loaded directly to your head. Are you sure this is the correct course of action? Yeah. I agree. It's like, yeah. But anyway, let's continue.
Aside.
Let's continue. I think we've made the point kind of clear. Let's
Today, I'm putting isekai anime on trial for how it represents slavery. I might not have a law degree, but I have seen Legally Blonde, and I have played Ace Attorney, so I'm pretty sure I've got this in the bag. Ladies, gentlemen, and degenerates of the jury, today I shall present you with irrefutable evidence that slavery is sullying the sacred genre of isekai. Court is now in session. As a heads up, I will be discussing some mature themes in this video, incling brief references to sexual assault. I'll also be spoiling the plots of some isekai, so proceed at your own risk.
Video's kind of loud.
Yeah, it is. Well, I can't do it even.
No, I'm just going to lower the audio for the people at home.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's continue.
The idea of an isekai story featuring slavery was originally something that took off in light novels instead of on screen. However, after the light novel Rising of...
Well, this is isekai history. And I'm just going to repeat it briefly because everybody of my loyal viewers know web novels 2012 or whatever. A little bit earlier, actually. Anyway...
Yeah, well, I mean, good on her for at least acknowledging that. Even though it's not, we're not 100% there, but we're getting there. We're getting there, right?
I believe this video is a little bit older, so maybe I should.
Well, she said 2023, so it must.
Oh, so never mind. Play.
Yeah.
into the wood chipper. Nah.
Into the wood chipper she goes. But no.
Web novels, shousetsu, centralized sites. Popular stories get adapted into light novels. Popular light novels into anime.
Yep.
History.
If you want more history, you can go back and watch the stream where we went through the timeline and did all the shit.
Yeah. Also,
we should probably look at clipping that out at some point.
Yeah. 5-0, David. I see you. Don't worry.
Yeah, and guys, if the stream's being a bit buffery, we tried. we tried. Hopefully it's good on your end and it's a me problem. But yeah. Just figured I'd let you know that we've been having some technical difficulties. Hopefully the VOD should be okay. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, like I said, I'll give some credit because I mean a lot of people don't even they won't even talk about the fact that this stuff is even based on anything. So you know,
yeah.
So she gets like a solid C-. He's a C-, passing grade.
I guess.
The Shield Hero received an anime adaptation in 2019. The trend took off because.
Here you see where you go wrong.
See that C. See that C-. That's now an F. You go. Fucking goodbye, passing grade. The trend did not take off with Shield Hero at all. Like Shield Hero was at like I don't even know if that would be peak. Would that be peak, Ellie?
No, I mean, I believe it's more. If we're going to talk about what started what, we should talk about the web novels, and in that sense, it was an early light novel, like before Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah. So I wouldn't. Yeah. The trend. I mean, even if we're just talking about anime only, right? I would say that Shield Hero came out like around. I don't know if it would be like the peak, but it would have been pretty close to the peak.
Well, it came out, say, it was. If we're going to talk about the, it's kind of hard. It might be. Maybe I should include second seasons in my timeline. But
maybe you should. Well, yeah. Update for 2024.
Whatever. It's kind of it's a mess anyway. No, but I think it's kind of accurate to say that 2018, 2019, I guess, is indeed the year where isekai started its big peak, and since then it didn't stop, basically.
Right. Okay. Well,
but Shield Hero was a
six isekai series debuted in that year. Before that, it was 3 at most.
All right.
4.
Commercial success, similar isekai light novels also received anime adaptations, and thus the trope was born. So here's a quick rundown. Now, Fumi, our hero, is a modern-day
Can you pause
Japanese
real
guy
quick,
who's
because I
summoned to
really
another
need to
world.
I know that Ragnarok and How to Not Summon a Demon Lord both have slavery and slime, and they all came out in the same year. So it's not like the success.
Yeah, the slavery. Yeah. Shield Hero wasn't the progenitor of the slavery meme.
Not in anime. Not that people saw that Shield Hero slavery was successful. Now we're going to adapt these others.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think the problem. Yeah, we've been having a lot of technical problems. I'm apparently really high ping on Discord right now, so I might be interrupting because I'm,
behind.
A bit behind. Yeah, I'm a bit behind. So my problem with this is that again, like you said, the slavery meme, as I'm going to call it, didn't really start with Shield Hero, but I think the problem that we're running into is it was the first big controversy around it, right? It was the first time there was this push from people like this chick here to be like, slavery bad, slavery super bad. We need to fight the slavery, right? So I feel like that's what's happening here. Is she's conflating isekai had slavery in it to this is when it became like a public problem, and I think David made that point too in the chat just now. He's like, yeah, it's the first time it became an issue public, in the public eye, right? So I feel like this is just an issue of conflating those two different ideas, right? Because if she'd said, oh, this was the first time it became a controversy, but there was all of these other animes that had slavery in them, or series that had slavery in them, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's just because she's trying to, her timeline is wrong. Is basically the problem, and it's wrong because she's messing up.
Yeah, I mean, the best objection, for the easiest objection, is that no, Shield Hero didn't inspire studios to adapt How to Not Summon a Demon Lord because the time frame is just too short.
Yeah. But anyhow,
along with Great Value Kirito, Dollar Store Link, and Ponytail Bro. Everyone thinks Naofumi is lame because shields are boring. Then he's falsely accused of rape by a princess. Everyone hates his guts and he gets kicked out of the palace. He still has to train to fight monsters, but no one will help him because his reputation sucks, so he buys the cheapest slave his broke ass can find, a demi-human girl named Raftalia. She has a magical branding on her chest which forces her to obey Naofumi's orders. Naofumi enlists his new slave to help him level up by killing monsters. Raftalia is terrified because she has PTSD from that one time when monsters killed her entire family, but Naofumi uses her slave brand to force her to fight against her will. Her
she's glossing over a little bit there.
Well, I don't think that Naofumi started with the intent to cure the PTSD. In the beginning, it was very much forced.
No, yeah. I just we'll see how it goes.
PTSD is cured after one fight, and soon.
No, well, that's not true. It wasn't miraculously cured after one fight. That's incorrect.
Although it was kind of miraculously cured, I guess. But
the thing is it's I wouldn't say it's miraculously cured. I think because she still kind of has it in certain moments in the show, right? So I don't know if it's you could say, oh, it's like Naofumi like clicked his fingers and all of a sudden the PTSD went away. It's more that she kind of got over it over time, and it's portrayed as that sort of in the show from what I remember. Like, yeah, I haven't watched the first season in a long time, right? But I'm like, from what I remember, like it seems like she's kind of speed running this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
and
think
it's
that's...
cool, and it's like, I'm not like, it's not like I'm expecting a really charitable interpretation here from this person, but at the same time, like she's not being very fair to the show is what I'm having a problem with.
Well,
like,
I don't really expect shows in general to really tackle PTSD and its long-term effects. Even after you're cured, it still pops up.
It's like I was saying before with the slavery thing. It's like she expects the show to like immediately pivot into, oh, we have to do therapy for Raftalia for like 5 episodes or something, right? And it's like that's it's not going to happen, and it completely derails the story to becoming about something that it's not, right? And I have a I just it's really annoying. It's really annoying. But anyway, let's get.
She and Naofumi are best buds, even though she's still technically his property. The other heroes are pretty weirded out that Naofumi owns a slave.
He actually has a slave in his party? Man, how much lower is this guy gonna go?
And Ponytail Guy challenges Naofumi to a duel, with the understanding that if he wins, Naofumi will have to free Raftalia. They fight, Naofumi almost wins, but the princess cheats, and Raftalia is freed. Hooray! But then 5 minutes later, she decides that actually she really wants to be a slave again, and she asks to...
Again, this is what I mean. She's misrepresenting the entire thing. She's misrepresenting. She's misrepresenting it and trying to portray it in the worst possible light, where it's like, no, the reason that because she actually legitimately likes Naofumi. Like, she legitimately has befriended Naofumi. She never wanted to be freed in the first place.
Well,
right?
let me. It's getting weird. We're talking about slavery this way. So, quick context from what I remember. Caveat: Raftalia is kind of happy with Naofumi. I still think I argued this a while ago. That there's still this.
I think we might have, yeah.
That there's still this imbalance that Raftalia can't go against Naofumi even if Naofumi is wrong. Right? Because of how the crest works.
Not necessarily. I don't think that's. I would have to go back and remember.
I'm pretty sure that
it's not like a shot call. I think it's like only if she like directly tried to attack him. I think I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and re-watch or reread what the actual mechanics.
Yeah, but my
of the
point
slave
still
quest
is
are.
that if there is ever
I can concede. I will concede the point that there is an imbalance. That's what I'll say.
So there is an imbalance in the situation. Naofumi is kind of weird. Raftalia still has weird slavery PTSD. They're broken characters together. Oh, what sweet. Oh, what fine. So that's not really my issue. Context for the scene is, if people don't know, people are weirded out that Raftalia is with him, to fuck with him more. Raftalia is kidnapped and put in chains and bound up and whatnot. More a slave, more bound than she ever was before. Naofumi, and she is rescued, but then immediately put into chains by the other heroes and the princess and whatnot. So when Naofumi rescues her, she then wants to get her bond back with Naofumi because it's the first friendly bond she ever had, etc., 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 for a long while. So two broken characters still end up together, and the rest has to deal with the hypocrites that save a slave character by bounding her up in chains and rope and whatnot.
And I think like the problem with how this is being portrayed in the video is she's completely glossing over the character arcs, because Naofumi's whole thing is that he has trust issues because of what happened with the false accusations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so his whole arc up till now has been it's like you mentioned with them being broken characters. They're broken characters that are trying to piece themselves back together via each other.
And
right?
via very heavy chains to each other.
But yeah, literal and meta, whatever. But that's what I mean, right? It's not as simple as because it's ironic because she's doing the exact same thing the heroes did. They're not factoring in Raftalia's own free will here, right? Because you could make the argument that there's a power imbalance, obviously, because there is, right? However, at the end of the day, it's still Raftalia's final choice, and she goes back to Naofumi of her own volition, because of the fact that she recognizes how broken he is, and he recognizes somewhat how broken she is, right?
Because she's weird for wanting a slave quest again.
Well, the reason she wants the slave crest again and she gets it again is specifically because she understands that Naofumi has these trust issues, and she wants to prove to him that no, I am so dedicated to you that I will willingly go back to being a slave of yours, right? It's a show of
big trust.
What's the word I'm looking for? Big trust. Yeah, big trust. Big, I trust you enough that I am willing to be enslaved by you, right? Because Raftalia would have followed Naofumi regardless. She didn't need to get the slave crest again. She was fully prepared. But in order to prove to Naofumi just how dedicated she is to him, she got the slave. And so that's what I'm saying, is there's so much complexity to this entire thing that is just getting washed over here. And it's not necessarily to make the argument, oh, is this good or bad? Is this good or bad storytelling? Is this good or bad writing? My issue is that if you are going to criticize this, you should criticize it for the entirety of what it is, not just the superficial elements, right? You should be able to go, hey, I think this is kind of weird because of the power imbalance, and I feel like
my issue with the story then is that this power balance is never addressed. I mean, I didn't really continue watching after the first season. Besides the point, I don't think this power imbalance is ever addressed or rectified in any way. Even after
it kind of just goes away. Yeah.
So
I don't think it gets addressed. It kind of just disappears from the ether, which I guess is a valid. I can see that as a valid criticism, and that's what I mean, right? Like you can criticize this. It's just a lot of the criticisms, like the criticism this chick is leveling on it, is so surface level, because it literally just boils down to slavery bad, right? It's literally just the mere existence of slavery is bad. Therefore, there is no nuance to this conversation.
In fiction, right? In fiction.
In Minecraft. in Minecraft, right? So yeah, because David asked the question in the chat, so what is her issue with the whole slavery stuff? Because he's saying that it's boring, but he doesn't really care about it in the fictional world. Anyway, so it's like, yeah, like from what I'm gathering from the video, it's literally just slavery is bad because I find it morally reprehensible, and there is no context where slavery could be used as a narrative device, right? Like it is in Shield Hero, because that is what it's being used for. Is it's being used as a narrative tool, right? And whether or not it executes that particularly well is up for debate and discussion, like me and Ellie are doing.
Yeah,
right
well,
now,
right? Slavery if maybe to wrap it up, right?
Yeah, because we got to move on.
All right, so slavery, in my opinion, slavery is very well used in Shield Hero at the beginning. The setup, the low point Naofumi had, the buying, and even this conflict of her re-entering in a slave crest contract thing. That's handled relatively well. I don't think it really finishes very well. When Theo gets a slave crest, I didn't really see the point of it. And I think it's weird that, I assume, I didn't really watch, that Raftalia still has a slave crest at the end of season 3, when all those trust issues, at least between the party, are gone.
Yeah, I like I said, it just kind of disappears and gets sort of sidelined.
Because I'm pretty sure they don't need to be slaves to be granted, XP bonuses.
I don't remember. I don't remember what the exact.
And otherwise, I don't think this power imbalance is worth the XP gain.
And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair criticism. I think that's fair. So yeah, let's continue. Let's see what she has to say.
Be rebranded so that she can become Naofumi's slave, and they'll be together forever. The end. Well, that actually wasn't the end. It was only like 5 episodes, but I had to stop watching at this point because I could feel myself developing an ulcer. There was definitely some initial backlash online when the show first started airing, but ultimately it performed pretty well, it was rated highly, and it's been greenlit for not only a season 2, but now a season 3. But enough about Rising of the Shield Hero. Let's see what came after.
Oh! Why rent a girlfriend when you could just buy one?
Nice title.
That's actually pretty funny, yeah. I'll go with that. That's pretty funny.
More and more isekai began following in the footsteps of Shield Hero and incorporating slavery into their story.
No,
wait a minute.
That Moon show that came out like a year later after. It was written a year later after Shield Hero. That's long enough for it to be inspired and whatnot, but
Redo's not an isekai.
No. And
well, I mean, it's not an isekai, but for the sake of debate, because theoretically, no, it wouldn't be technically an isekai because he doesn't he goes back in time. He doesn't get transported to another world.
Yeah,
he resets the world basically and then does it again. That's what happens. So it's not, he doesn't get transported to another world, and he doesn't, no. I was gonna try and make the argument, but the more I think about it, it's like, nah, that's not.
Nah, I mean, I just throwing a bunch of show on TV doesn't really shows on TV, characters or shows on the screen. They all are after Shield Hero, but I'm still not. They're not the same because they have the same slavery. I mean, I think this is Ragnarok or Death March. Because I heard a criticism of slavery isekai. We're gonna answer. Alright, I'll finish my thought before chat. Chat, you're distracting me.
You're distracting Ellie. No, it's okay, guys. Yeah, but we try to get to your chats when we can. Don't worry about it.
I'm kind of lost my point.
You've lost it. Okay, well.
There's one criticism of slavery isekai, and that is that it very much relies on that the main character is a good slaveholder. He's a nice guy.
He's the good guy, yeah.
And slavery is never really addressed, or the power dynamics. This is kind of a problem with Naofumi still being a slave owner. That it doesn't really matter because Naofumi is a nice guy, and everybody in all these animes, all these series, web novels have slavery, but it's fine because the main character is nice about it.
So, apparently, according to Jim, the reason Theo has the slave crest is because she was transforming into a bird form too much. I don't remember enough about it to comment on whether or not that's correct or not. So, but it's worth pointing out. So yeah, let's continue.
But where Shield Hero didn't imply any romantic relationship between Naofumi and Raphtalia, future isekai did not hold themselves to the same standard, and pretty soon isekai protagonists began collecting hot slave babes left and right like Pokemon to add to their harems. The more research I did for this video, the more these shows started to blur together, and I realized that they follow a pretty set formula. First, they always feature a male protagonist, usually a young adult or teenager, who is somehow transported into a fantasy world where slavery exists. The protagonist is in need of a new adventuring party member or a new hot babe for his harem, so he ends up deciding to buy a slave. The slave is always a young, conventionally attractive girl or woman. Now, to make sure our audience knows that our hero isn't a bad person for buying a slave, the protagonist will agonize over this decision, via long-winded internal monologue about how he knows slavery is wrong, but he has no choice.
Okay, I want to kind of go back just so we've got the points up on screen. There we go. So, where's the problem? Why are all of these things a problem?
Well, these are not a problem yet.
This is my thing, right? Because if you reversed a few of these and you said it was a female protagonist, right? And the female protagonist got a male slave, or even worse, a shota, would you be saying the same thing? You know?
Well, there's this one isekai where it's a long title of
It's
otome guys
but it's
mob characters in an otome game have it hard.
So that's why I'm kind of like, this is why I have a problem, because she hasn't quite gotten into like, okay, what is necessarily the issue here? Because here's the thing, right? I'm of the mind, right? I don't really care if it's a male power fantasy or whatever. It should still be allowed to exist. All right? I don't.
But Nretsew, I think you're a little bit too sensitive on this list, because this is just a key list of key features and why it's wrong. But
my problem is she's listing all of these like they're a bad thing, and I want to know why they're a bad thing. So I'm hoping that she gets to that. I'm just pointing this out now in the prediction that she's not going to explain why each of these points are necessarily a bad thing. Right? That's where I'm coming from, because I get the feeling that she's saying, you know, this is specifically bad because it's my prediction, and I'm probably going to be wrong, and I might not be wrong, is that she's going to be making the argument of this is bad because male power fantasy and men like this. That's going to be my prediction here. David makes the point that it's predictable and it's become boring. Yeah, no, David, that's not my thing, right? I'm not. There's a difference between, oh, it's predictable and it's boring, and there is a fundamental problem with this existing because of XYZ reasons, right? That's the difference, right? The criticism of it being boring is different to what's being presented here.
Yeah.
So,
also, David, I'm curious then. Do you have a favorite isekai, and what did you like in that isekai? Just you know, or for everybody in chat. Also, Samu, you know, if you were a true fan, you would have been here from the start.
Well, no. Well, I mean, he would have been here from the start to see us having all these bloody technical issues.
I still blame YouTube exclusively for it.
Yeah, the stream is being really bad on my end. I don't
know. Overlord, yeah, I like Overlord a lot. It's one of my favorites. It's
Overlord is one that we go on about as being really good. Yeah, we've talked at length about Overlord in the past because it's super good. But anyway, let's get
internal monologue about how he knows slavery is wrong, but he has no choice. And of course he's going to be a good slave owner because he'll treat his slave so much better than some other creep. After all, he's a good guy. Needless to say, things escalated pretty quickly, and we went from hero buys a slave to round out his party to hero decides to invest in full-blown sexual slavery.
Real quick? I'll look up Black Summoner because I don't have it in my list, so I don't know if it is an isekai.
I don't know. I don't know either, but again, my problem. Okay, so but here's my thing. Like, she is presenting this as like a fan service, ecchi, degenerate, literal hentai. Where's the problem? Where's the problem? Fan service isn't a problem. Ecchi isn't a problem. I don't give a shit if you think it's degenerate. You moralizing friggin' what are you, some Christian bloody Puritan or something? Like, come on. Why are you calling it
Hero
degenerate?
decides to invest in full
and literally hentai. Who cares if it's literal hentai? Whatever. Samu's gonna commit seppuku.
It's the only right choice.
It's the only right choice.
See, it's kind of, I've read the plot synopsis on Black Summoner. It's kind of an isekai edge case. First written in 2013. I'll consult my list. That is kind of in after the big boom on Shousetsu. It's the same year as
Alright.
Hame Flak.
Alright. So there's a difference between going, okay, I find this boring or whatever, right? Because that's what David's take is, right? Like, there's a difference between that and what she's saying, which is these things are literally degenerate hentai, right? And that's bad. This is somehow, you know, there's a moral statement being made here. Or at least I'm picking up on a moral stance is being formulated. So I don't know if she's going to outright state it, though. That's going to be interesting.
It has indeed the hints of the sex band.
Yeah, you have to. So, because a lot of the time, people like that do this kind of thing, they tend to try to be very sneaky about it. Like they won't outright say that the sex bad or the sexy bad, because they know that that's gonna get them some flack from people like me, right? So they try and do this like almost like virtue signally dog whistly type stuff like this, where they kind of, you know, heavily imply what the stance is on it, but they don't actually outright say it. And my favorite one is when they'll be like, "Oh, but no, but you don't understand. I actually like the sexy stuff, despite the fact that I rally against it 24/7 and think that anything that's not my hyper-Pacific fetish is evil." Right? You know, like this is So I'm picking up on that. I don't know if she's going to outright say it or not, and I'm going to try not to be too accusatory about it until we have confirmation. I'm just saying that's the vibe. I'm picking up on the vibe, Alan.
The vibes.
Picking up on the vibe. So David says, I think her whole issue with all of this list is, you know, it's IRL moral view. Yeah, that's probably correct. You know,
So,
and it's shallow criticism. What does that mean? Since war is bad, so is a war movie equally bad? Yeah, that's an interesting idea, because you have war movies, right, that are not necessarily like war is bad, right? War is hell. Like, obviously, you do have war movies that are specifically about that, but you also have stuff where it's like, oh, it's the big soldier man who's action movie man. He goes in and he's beating the Nazis or the bad guys, and it's super, you know, army cool, you know, like military propaganda, I guess is what some people would call it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that those movies then are kind of called military propaganda or just US Army propaganda. So those are criticized, and I don't really mind.
But I feel like that's a little bit different though, in terms of like the criticism of it, because I think it would depend on the movie, I guess, because you could have a movie that is quote unquote military propaganda, but it's still a good movie in terms of, you know, it's just an action romp or whatever. You know, that's, you know, I think Michael Bay movies are a good example of that, right? Where you'd have, I don't know, I think Michael Bay did Pearl Harbor, I think, or one of the Pearl Harbor. There's been a few Pearl Harbor related movies.
Do you know Stargate?
I do know Stargate. Yes, I'm familiar with Stargate.
Looking back, how much of that is in U.S. military propaganda?
I haven't watched it in a very, very, very long time, since I was probably a wee lad.
So. All right, so there's I don't know. Remember one episode? It's a kind of a recap episode where it was a different time, where general of China, general of Russia, general of France or Europe, and general of US sit in a room and discuss about all the bad things, the terrible things that happened while Stargate was in, you know, US hands, and all the bad things. And then, oh, there were some good things. We got some neat allies, but, you know, the world was almost destroyed like 5 times. Therefore, Stargate should be an international thing, la 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 la. Then one of the aliens show up, the Asgards, the Greys, and they say, nah, US should have the Stargate. And then all the guys said, all right, I guess US can have the Stargate.
Okay, I guess.
But it's still very much framed in, no, we, the US, are the true custodians of this interstellar travel super technology, and we are the only ones who can be trusted with it.
Right.
That's why in retrospect, Stargate is kind of a military propaganda, US propaganda, blah 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 blah. I still like Stargate, but you know.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on what lens you're kind of analyzing it under, I guess.
Well, the lens I
probably make that argument.
I gained a new lens in my repertoire when I learned that you can only film on military bases, and you can only use the US Army if you're going to be positive about the US Army.
Right. But anyway, let's continue.
Full-blown sexual slavery.
Fuck.
That is an age where you can consent by law in most of Europe and the world.
Yeah, I'm not. We already had that rant. I'm not doing it again.
No! Wait! Objection!
Hey, it's us.
Oh, hello.
What?
The good ones, quote unquote.
Also, Samu.
Yeah, Samu. We've been having that.
Oh no, this is getting worse.
Yeah. We've been having technical difficulties on stream for some reason.
I still say that YouTube is having technical difficulties.
Because we tried switching to the backup server and it didn't help. So
and my 0 dropped frames for the entire stream, 0 laggings, whatever.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. There's something going on with the thing. So hopefully the VOD won't be too affected by it, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's a shame.
Also, before we go into the good ones, I don't really remember any show which ended slavery or series.
I think wasn't there that one, the one with the Jim seems to be fine. Yeah, it must just be whatever server we're getting connected to from YouTube. Like maybe one of the European servers is having a hissy or something. I don't know. So the issue. So there was that one with the skeleton knight.
I know, but I don't think he actually engaged in it. He's kind of, a true natural.
But I thought because I remember there were people saying that he like went to war against the slavers or some shit.
Oh, maybe, but I just know he while other isekai kind of resigned themselves to engage in slavery, Skelly Knight doesn't, and I haven't watched it or anything, but that's what I know.
I haven't watched it either. I'm just remembering that I saw some people praise it for something like, he doesn't do the slave thing or whatever.
So don't come if you want an isekai that doesn't do it. Here you go.
A repeating trope became boring mostly because of lazy writing, but criticizing the trope because it's morally wrong now is just lazy critique.
Don't say that too loud. Before look at what we're doing. Critiquing bad arguments. Damn.
But it's like, I can kind of get that. It's like, I think, because my whole issue here is this is just moral nonsense. Like, there's not, like, what's the argument here? Like, what is the actual argument? It's just, I find it morally wrong that the slavery exists and it's being portrayed as like, how it's being portrayed.
So shall we go? It's very
Skeleton Knight is very anti-slavery. It's the whole point of the show. Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right,
that's what I thought. I thought it was very anti-slavery.
So let's go seriously into my slime thing again.
Oh fuck!
For a little bit, because we're going to. We're talking about morality.
Now's the time. Now's the time for you to have your little. For the 50 billionth time across all of our videos and all of our streams, every single time you have to bring up your favorite anime, slime, and talk about how much you love slime. You want to marry slime. Okay.
Domestic abuse is going to be.
I'm gonna shut up for a minute, and I'll just let you go. Have fun.
So, if you're going to put morality onto fiction like that, I think it's more valuable to have a kind of an interesting perspective, a new insight in how the show works, or how the show kind of skips some steps in the world or in morality. Therefore, I don't think it's very interesting to criticize Shield Hero for using slavery, because Shield Hero is very aware of what it's doing with slavery. Although I still think it gets kind of lazy, as it were, with resolving the slavery when it's no longer really needed for the trust issues. I feel, not for me because I didn't stop watching a while ago, but I feel unless I'm told there's a resolution to the slavery and slave crests, until that time I'll say it still needs a resolution for it. Now, if we're going to Slime, the first season in particular, where Rimuru is kind of enslaving people, binding them to his name, and building a whole society based on his ideals and his culture, and kind of, excavating, exhuming all the other cultures to have his own. And the orc, the pigmen are absorbed into the culture. The lizard man, even the nature spirits are joining the Japanese way of Rimuru. They're using real morality to kind of expose what Rimuru is doing. Is kind of interesting because the show doesn't really do it, and it's not very obvious on a first look. It might give you a new insight in how in kind of unintended effects of both Rimuru as a character and the author that is writing it. And that's not to say that the author himself holds these pro-slavery and get rid of all the cultures that aren't Japanese. That's not really the point of looking at it in that way. It's all about in the presentation of how these ideas are expressed and how that can be interpreted as, because most people who watch Slime don't take this interpretation. It's only the weird people who think too much.
It's the weird people like you, yeah.
Who then say, damn, Rimuru is a massive slaveholder who commits cultural genocide and intellectual genocide.
Right.
Yeah, and I've been marinating on this point, on this bit for a while.
You've been marinating on slime hate for the last 4 years.
But I've been marinating on something else for a couple of years and I haven't mentioned it. So this because this also crosses a little bit over into author's intent and subjectivity, and oh no, you're just thinking too much, overthinking it. I wanted to put forth that the story of Atlantis, right?
Okay.
The story of Atlantis is written by...
Okay, wait. So to clarify, you mean the original story of Atlantis?
I was going to explain.
Ancient history version, or do you mean the DreamWorks Disney movie Atlantis?
I was going to explain.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was like, are we going all the way back to that Atlantis? Or...
So,
all right, I'll let you explain.
Atlantis was written by an old Greek guy who claimed he had gotten the story from the Egyptians, because it was in the time of the Phoenicians, if I'm correct, and the Greeks themselves don't have written records on the Phoenicians. They only really have the Egypt, the Egyptians for them to kind of know what happened in their own lands before their own time. So this Greek guy says, "Oh no, I got this story from Egypt. That's where we all get our stories from." And it's a story about how our little people, the Phoenicians, they are so cool. The old Greeks, they're so cool. When the Atlanteans came and conquered everybody, they didn't conquer our ancestors. They didn't conquer because we're so cool.
We got big dicks. We fought them off.
Yeah, they fought them off. They were so into not spiritual, thinking and training the body, while those others were busy with vanity and jewelry, all those dumb stuff. No, we were real men, real people, real thinkers. But then it got a little bit too hairy, and then we asked Poseidon to drown them, and then they got the Atlanteans got drowned because they got too greedy. They had everything, but still needed to conquer everybody. But we, the Phoenicians, were so cool. We descendants of the Phoenicians were so cool because the Phoenicians held off the Atlanteans. 2,000 years later, Atlantis is super cool, man. It's about an all lost civilization, lost to time.
Yeah, it's a lost civilization and under
So
the sea.
That is basically my point of that. The original point of Atlantis was: are people very good?
Greed bad. Are people very good?
And
greed
also
bad?
Greed bad.
Yeah.
And it became Atlantis is super duper cool, and it's such a shame that it disappeared.
Yeah.
So that's the subjectivity of and how a story changes, and that's why Atlantis is why I don't mind giving wild interpretations about slime.
Right. So to loop back around, I think that it's fine to have these wild interpretations, and it's interesting to explore them. I think my problem specifically with the video, right, in terms of the moral claiming and whatnot, is that there's always this undertone of I don't like this, therefore no one should have it, right? Because you're not going to take slime away from people that like slime, obviously.
You're just going to yell at them a lot.
You're just going to yell. You're just going to yell. Well, you're not even going to do that, right?
Nah.
But you get what I mean, right? You're not making this claim that if you enjoy slime, you are immoral because you support the man doing the big slavery or whatever, right? Like, you're not making that point. You're merely just saying, hey, there's some interesting things going on here. Maybe we should talk about them, right? And I'll meme about it mostly just because you keep bringing it up all the time, right? I'll meme about it, but it is an interesting take and discussion, right?
Yeah.
But my main problem, which loops back into the video, is when people have this superiority complex of my take is the superior take. You need to bow to my glorious moral intuitions of slavery is bad, and any show that shows anything outside of total slavery destruction is morally deficient or whatever, right?
Also, just on Atlantis, I forgot a funny detail is when the old Greek guy was asked from, damn, why is everybody has really Greek names? Why aren't they, a little bit Egypt-like? Can we read the story that you got from the Egyptians? And he said no. Only it's real. It's real. It exists though. It really came from Egypt. You can't read it.
You have to read my localization.
Trust me, it exists. Trust
me, bro. Yeah. So point taken that the moral view can change over time. Yeah, that's another aspect of it.
Also, people make shit up and tell it to say it's true.
Yeah, they make shit up. Yeah. So to loop back to Shock U's point, so did this person remember to mention that slavery got popular because of stories written by women? No, that's probably never going to be addressed because women like this or just people like this in general never factor in that. I mean, shit, Ellie, a vast majority of the people making these stories are in fact women.
I would be interested to see.
I would be. Oh yeah.
All right. So I would say that these stories are written by males mostly. So I've no doubt that the subservient. Well, I'll continue a little bit. I'll say that of course the most subversive stories, the most out there stories with the crazy pairings and the crazy shippings and the wild adventures about
and fetishes,
fetishes, all are first done by women, and then men come in. When it's popular, the men come in and make money out of it, and then push all the women away.
My point was going to be, the first thing is a lot of these authors are anonymous and don't actually. I think like the Shield Hero in particular, there was some rumors that the Shield Hero author was a woman, but I don't think it was ever actually confirmed.
Yeah,
I know
it's
that
only,
the manga author and artist, I think, for Shield Hero is a woman, but I don't know if the actual original author is a woman. There were rumors about it, but I don't think it was ever actually confirmed, and so they're still anonymous. And there are a lot of authors that they like to keep their identities anonymous for valid reasons, because that's all. You don't even have to have a reason for that, right? Like, you shouldn't have to have a reason to remain anonymous. But I would be very interested, because I know we have Comic-Con statistics dating back to, I think 2015, 2016-ish, that indicate that the majority of people exhibiting at Comic-Con, both in terms of audience and people that have booths, right, were women. I think it's the disparity is like 40. It's like 40% ish. Like, it is quite, like, it's not 50-50 split. It's very tilted towards, there's a good tilt. I'd have to go bring up the stats again, but you can find them online. There's like graphs for it. But the thing is, we haven't actually gotten stats like that again from Comic-Con, and I would be very interested to have them do that again and release those stats publicly, because it would be, I would like to see if that distribution has changed over time.
So
right?
I'm fuzzy on the details, but I'm pretty sure that Comic-Con was founded by women.
I believe it was too. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, women are a massive influence and power within otaku sphere, right? Like, in terms of creators, in terms of doujinshi writers, in terms of the core audience even, right? And that's something that a lot of people don't want to address when they make sort of criticisms like this, because a lot of the time people will be like, oh, it's just the evil males making the fetishy type. It's like, no, not at all. Not at all. And I think the best example of that was way back when, I can't remember what year this was. It would have been in probably around that, like, 2017, 2016 range. It was when the UN was first sort of pushing Japan to start policing art and stuff. One of the groups that was one of the very first groups that came out in defense of artistic freedom and stuff were the feminists in Japan that sent a letter to the UN basically telling the UN to fuck off. And the arguments that they made were basically that, look, a lot of women are self-employing themselves and gaining independence from, the patriarchy, quote unquote, right? That wasn't their exact wording. I'm just using Western feminist wording, right? A lot of women are using that as a way to pick themselves up and provide for both themselves and their families, and you, the UN, want to come in and take that away from us because you think that what we are creating is disgusting or whatever, right? Was, I believe, part of the argument that they made to the UN to tell them to fuck off. So, yeah, a lot of people don't want to really talk about that, but I think it is important to at least acknowledge the fact that this isn't just some, the disgusting, males are fetishizing the women's and it's sexisms and stuff. It's like, no, it's not that at all.
I do want to say that there's a great tragedy, in that the women build these spaces. They build Comic-Cats. They build, they make early video games, because they were the first programmers, so they made some games and whatnot. And then begin game, make arcade games, but then they got all erased because it was company policy to not have the name of the programmers because they're all women, I guess. Only the director got credit, and the director was a guy, so all the women who did the programming gone. Comic-Cat became more male-centric after it became a success. A bunch of other things, right? When successful, the men come in, they take over the space and say it's a guy space. Women don't belong here.
Which is actually very ironic, because in the West you have the opposite argument that gets made, where women are intruding on male spaces. Because the opposite happens too, where you have women coming into male spaces and being all like, "Oh no, we have to change this to make it more accepting to women," or whatever.
In the sense
so it's very interesting. It's very interesting that, at the end of the day, both sides are guilty, I guess.
I would say that both sides are kind of guilty. Although I'm more in favor of women reclaiming the space that they made.
Well, and I wouldn't even have a problem with that, because they make good shit. So it's like, so what? But anyway, I guess we've had our nice long tangent. We should probably
the
we're
video,
about halfway through the video,
slavery.
so we should get back to it. I mean, it's an interesting topic, and that's why we do these casts, because it's interesting discussion. So let's hear about the good ones. What ones are the good ones?
Okay, but what about the good ones? The isekai where the hero helps the slaves out instead of buying them. Let's take a look at some contenders. First, Jobless Reincarnation, in which the protagonist actually helps rescue some beast children who are being abducted by slave traders. This seems pretty wholesome. Until you remember that a few episodes ago, he was living with a wealthy family and being waited on hand and foot by enslaved beast people working as servants.
Were they enslaved?
In most practical terms, yes.
No, but I mean, like, were they actually enslaved, or were they just like? I guess that's kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but I don't remember if it was like.
No, it's Moshikote say makes an effort to have a somewhat realistic medieval society-ish, and servants were not free to go.
I get.
And they are especially they brought in from abroad because they are beast skin to be eye candy for a rich family.
I'm remembering that now. Yeah. I guess you could. It's just a kind of, I just remember.
They're not wearing chains, but they can't leave.
I'm interested if she's gonna bring up the more recent stuff about it.
I don't think so. I think this video is kind of a couple months old, even before the episodes.
Well, I guess if she doesn't, we'll talk about it. So it's good.
Not only that, but the family's patriarch straight up has a fetish for beast people, and he is cheating on his wife and having sex with his beast people servants. This behavior is neither opposed nor ethically examined by the protagonist. Okay,
but again, why does it need to be? Like, why? Like, that slavery and adultery or whatever is bad, quote unquote, right? It's bad, right? Like, we all recognize that this is bad. So why does the story have to constantly beat you over the head with the fact that it's bad, right?
So the anime, if you're going to say that moral clarity is important, then I could say that the show could have made more of an effort to say that the beasts people aren't aren't there out of their own free accord. That's a problem with adaptation of an anime, that they can't spend 5 pages, 300 words.
And that's where I'm getting at. It's like she's expecting the show to be the moral arbiter and basically scream at the viewer, "Hey, slavery bad, sexism bad, these things are bad," like every 5 fucking seconds, and it's like, no, you don't. You shouldn't have to, and you shouldn't need to do it. And
also,
was like, wow, how dare a rich person, change your mind about slavery. Yeah, it's like, God.
Also, Rudy is still very much a non-moral person in this.
He's
stage.
not. He's not the moral. Do you really want Rudy to be your moral arbiter of what is, and of course she's not going to mention it because it's probably before that. But there was the controversy recently where Rudius and the other guy buy a slave, right? And it's treated as like a normal kind of thing. And the author came out, and I mentioned this, I think, maybe either during a Twitter drama segment or perhaps like in the past, or maybe we talked about it. I can't remember if we did on stream or not, but the author came out and was like, look, this is what Rudy's view on it is, and it basically just amounts to, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Like, Rudy is not going to make a, moral fucking, thing about the slavery, and he's not going to really try to revolutionize his way into changing the world because of the slavery. He's just kind of accepted it. He's just kind of accepted it as part of the world or whatever. I'd have to go and find the exact quote, but it was something along those lines where it's like, Rudius isn't viewing it as good or bad. He's just viewing it as, neutrally as possible.
Don't you could be glad that was it Rijfrien? The author of Mushoku Tensei isn't like J.K. Rowling's view on slavery.
Yeah,
because
but there's let
me remind you that Harry Potter has slavery of the house elves, and the one character, Hermione, that is bothered by slavery is cast as a busybody. An annoying busybody for wanting to free the slaves, and Harry Potter is mostly fine with slavery.
But Mushoku Tensei is like, it's like you said, it's like they're trying to set up this like realistic kind of medieval setting, sort of medieval fantasy. The stream has been very funky, Samu, so it might go. It's been fucking buffering for me the whole bloody time, so I don't know what's going on. But back to the point. So Mushoku Tensei, right, is interesting in that respect, where it is trying to present this sort of pseudo immersive, I'd say. I wouldn't say realistic, but it's an immersive medieval fantasy setting where slavery is obviously going to play an important role. And it shows that, slavery is not good. Rudius is, as mentioned in the video, protected the beast people in that instance from being enslaved. However, his overall view of it is that he's not going to be the moral, because he is not the center of the universe, right?
Not going to be an abolitionist. And I think
he's not going to be an abolitionist. He's not going to be an abolitionist because he understands that he is not the center of the universe of the world, right? And so he's not going to try to, change the thing. Like he might, he could advocate for it, I guess, but he's not, it's complicated. David makes a good point. Rudy is an interesting protagonist because he's not some knight in shining armor that is justice everywhere or whatever. He's just some degenerate. He's just a degenerate who wants to.
I do think that Rudy should have objected. As a moral person who lived in good liberal society, you should have a little bit more issue with slavery than he does.
You could say that, but you also have to remember that Rudius wasn't really connected to society even when he wasn't in the real world.
Well, he lived in it, and he had a childhood that was normal until
he lived. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he came out as a moral person, and you should know that, fool. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just I get where you're coming from. I'm just saying I don't think that Rudy.
I'm not bothered. I thought it was odd that Rudy had zero objections, and I think he should have had a bit more reservation too. But that's the extent of my I can rant about slime a lot more than Rudy in that situation.
And as David said, she totally missed the point, right? Because the whole point of Mushoku Tensei is Rudy becoming a better person over time. So it's it's baby steps, right?
But I think that Rudy at the stage where he went to the slave market should have been a little bit more moral clarity. He's kind of more. He is more of an adult, and he has.
And
at least
I
in
think
society.
and I think when you take into context the fact that he did protect those beast people from slavery, and he has had negative interactions with slavery in the past, you would also think that he would be a bit more. So that's a valid criticism of, the storytelling, right? Is that I also agree that he should probably have been a bit more reluctant, but it is what it is. Yeah, slavery is okay, but how do Voldemort only want pure-blooded wizards? Yeah, Jake. Yeah, what did J.K. Rowling mean by this? Yeah. But anyhow,
race
cross that
mixing. That's it. That's what she wants.
Race mixing, good. Yeah.
one off the list of good ones. What about skeleton?
I know. We just put, but has anyone ever actually said that Mushoku Tensei was one of the good ones? Because I don't actually think anyone has ever said that.
Well, not after season 2, but
not after season 2. Yeah, but even during season 1.
No, I don't. I mean, we were not in the thick of the slavery isekai discussions, or
I think because when we were covering the only time I remember talking about Shield Hero was when I was ranting about Mother's Basement and the Goblin Slayer episode fucking years ago. Because Mother's Basement has this really weird take about Naofumi that I ranted about, but that wasn't specifically about slavery. And I think we've had some discussions in past eps about it because it's come up. But we haven't dedicated a whole episode to it like we are now. So it's something like that. But anyway, let's hear more about Skeleton Show. Let's see what she's about.
Tonight in another world. Apparently, most of the plot centers on the hero trying to put an end to slavery. That should be pretty good. Let's give the first episode a try.
Oh my god!
I lowered the audio, and I have to lower more.
It's still not good enough. Yeah, it's
balance your audio, my girl, please.
Balance your audio and fucking. This is just moral virtue signaling. This is just
It's also just it wasn't even slavery. It was just sex or something on the screen.
Yeah, like that. I think that's the implication is oh, this show has fan service in it or whatever. But it's like this is another problem I have with people like this. It's never going to be enough, Ellie. It's never going to be enough. You could the show, from what I understand, is centered around from what people in the chat and from what we're picking up is centered around Skeleton Knight abolishing the slavery and slavery being bad, right? That should be exactly what this person wants, right? Exactly what we were talking about before. The show that centers completely around the idea of slavery bad, man comes into the world, oh, this is morally reprehensible. I have to change this because I'm a moral person. And then this person this chick can have her fucking power fantasy about being the moral person that dictates to all of the lessers, or whatever, that she's so much more moral and she's going to show them the way, right? That should be the Skeleton Knight show. But oh no, it has some anime titty in it. Oh god, no, it's not.
If I'm going
ruined.
To believe the clip that she saw, that the main character before he gets reincarnated as a Skelly Knight saw some porn on the TV and turned it off. I don't know what moral thing you're going to draw from that.
Yeah, man, you's been on point today. Sex work is real work, except how dare this person, how dare this person watch what is porn to him? Yeah. I fucking hate this shit. I fucking hate it because it will never be good enough. It will literally never ever be good enough.
So Nretsew, I'm curious what she's going to say next because I still have zero context.
Yeah, let's continue. Let's see what she says.
This show is supposed to be like an adventure romp comedy, and yet it opens with one of the most graphic, upsetting rape scenes I've ever seen.
All right.
Okay. This is the Goblin Slayer argument. Because, Ellie, why do you think it opens with the rape scene. We haven't seen the show, obviously, but knowing the context of slavery's bad, Skeleton Man wants to end slavery, why do you think it opens with the rape?
You got to make sure the evil guys are very evil, and Skeleton Knight is going to stop it.
Oh! Oh, man! God, why didn't I think of that, Ellie?
Because you're not smart like me.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, I'm a big dumb. Oh, it is literally Goblin Slayer. Because that's exactly what Goblin Slayer is. Goblin Slayer is, okay, we have to make sure the audience understands that the goblins are big evil. They are, I mean, we're going to talk about Farron later with total demon death. We'll get to that later. But, like, the total goblin death, right? Goblins must die. All goblins are irredeemable, disgusting creatures that will horrifically torture, rape, murder, impregnate, just everything. Everything bad, right? If you are setting up, this is why I hate this stuff, because it's like she wants slavery to be bad, right? We have to show slavery as being the big bad. It's so evil. It's the worst thing that can possibly happen to in anything, right? But you can't show that. You're not allowed to show it actually being bad. She doesn't want to actually see the slavery being bad, right? What she wants is Cuddles McCuddly, slavery's bad, abolish it. We're not going to explain, we're not going to actually address the topic and show the horrificness of it and, try and get you to understand why it's bad. It's just bad. And you should know that it's bad. But at the same time, we can't, so that's just what I mean. It's never good enough. It's never going to be good enough, right? Because there's always going to be something where it'll be like, oh, this is exactly what I want, but oh god, it's actually showing the horrificness of slavery and the brutality of it. Oh no, yeah, oh fuck, man, I'm just, oh my god. But anyway, let's see, because I don't know, because she might recover from this. I can see a way that she can recover from this, but let's see.
An anime, period. I did give it a couple more episodes, and it did go deeper into the protagonist's journey of trying to put an end to the slave trade. But honestly, the opening was so upsetting, and the show's attitude towards sexual assault and mistreatment of women in general was just so icky that I could not possibly.
Oh, it's so icky, so it's so, it's meant to be. God, it's like when you have, like, Sword Art Online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sword Art Online has all the sexual assault and stuff in it, right?
There's this one scene in season 1.
There was a more recent one that happened, and I think Crunchyroll censored the shit out of it. And that was part of the controversy around it. But that's not relevant to what I'm talking about, though. But what I'm talking about is the fact that it's shown as bad. The sexual assault is shown in the context of the story as it's like, because there's a difference between and of course it's a blurry line sometimes, right, between the fetish element and the actual showing it as a brutal act, right? Because these two things can kind of merge depending on what your fetish inclinations are, right? I mean, most people that have the fetish are still going to recognize that it's bad, right? Because people are fucking, they're not completely stupid, right? Because if that wasn't the case, everyone would be a bloody rapist, right? Obviously, there are some stops there, but the point I'm trying to make is, in the context of the story, when it's showing you the sexual assaults, right? It a lot of the time it is hyper, signaling to you, this is bad. This is a bad thing that's happening, right? Yeah, you could probably get turned on by it or whatever, but it is still portrayed as a negative. It is still portrayed as this is a traumatic experience for this person. They're not enjoying what's going on. It's bad. And David's right. She's contradicting herself, right? It's like freeing the slaves is okay, but saving the rape victim is not okay. Yeah, it's like, or even like just showing the brutality of it. You know, the show shows rapists as being the villains. Like, what the fuck is the problem? You know, she's talking about the show like it's Redo of a Healer. Yeah, and Redo of a Healer is like, you know, a completely other discussion about that, right? Like, there's probably, like, I could probably go on a long rant about Redo, but it's like Redo, even in Redo, right? It's not necessarily saying that, oh, what he's doing is right, because it's revenge fantasy type stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's not morally correct what he's doing, but it's entertaining. It's very entertaining, but you understand, but you have to understand, like, it's weird because they expect you to both be dumb and smart at the same time, right? They expect you to inherently understand that slavery is bad and it's evil or whatever, but then they also think that the audience is incredibly stupid and has to have it spelled out to them. But at the same time, you can't actually just straight up show the brutality of it to explain to people why it's bad, right? That's where it's this weird web of contradictions and hypocrisies, and it becomes this web that's so annoying to have to deal with people like this. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add, because I've been kind of ranting a little bit.
Your rants are also a good time to rename the previous stream to Failed Stream, Don't Watch.
We'll take that down later.
Yeah, but yeah, it's my own slightly repeating points, I guess. It's kind of she really wants kind of a sanitized experience of it. That's my take. But if it isn't sanitized, it's fetishized for her.
Right.
So if you're going, the previous screen where those two ladies were chained or not handcuffed, but had their hands bound.
They're in the wooden stock things.
Yeah, and they were on the bed, and apparently they were praising the rapists for being so good at sex, and they were forced to, otherwise they would be killed or whatever. And it was pretty bad, and they looked kind of scared, and oh no, I hope this guy won't kill us or rape us harder. That would be very bad. And now I see a big hole in the wall, so I can only assume that the guy that was raping them is dead or very much gone.
They have been saved by the hero.
They've been saved by the hero, and the bad guy is gone in life or is gone far away, literally or metaphorically. So what I don't know if the story wants to show the badness, how bad slavery can be, and then have them saved, or maybe even a little bit traumatized because the girl on the right doesn't seem completely relieved. I think she might be harboring a little bit of trauma still.
Yeah.
One frame of an anime, I know her entire character. Don't worry about it. It's true.
Something like that.
But that's my quick take. That she kind of wants a sanitized power fantasy.
I was gonna say too. Like she wants the sanitized power fantasy of being the revolutionary that saves all the slaves, and they institute the anti-slavery laws and whatever, right? And they kill all the slavers and the rapists and stuff, but they don't actually, like, they want that sanitized experience where it's safe, right? Where you don't actually have to contend with the real brutality and trauma that comes with the territory but they also want to be able to be the hero that saves everyone. I think it's really fascinating because obviously the common criticism, a lot of the top people like this will be like, oh, it's all male power fantasies where the man gets the slave and they have all of the harems and the stuff. And it's like, while that is probably true, they act as if they don't also have their own power fantasies, and that for some reason their power fantasies are okay, but male power fantasies are, gross, disgusting, evil. When, at the end of the day, it's just two sides of the same fucking coin. Yeah.
So quickly, I'm curious if she's going to rate this show as one of the good ones.
Probably not, but let's see.
Recommend the show to anyone. Another isekai called
she just glosses over. She's like, nope. I can't recommend this to anyone.
But is it one of the good ones though? No, I guess.
Yeah, but is it one of no, because she didn't watch enough of it. She only watched
she
yeah.
I thought it was weird. She used terms like I've heard
the sexual
that.
assault. The sexual assault in the start was so bad, was so triggering or whatever, that it stopped her from actually, like, she got blinded by her own self-righteousness, like, she's been blinded and can't objectively quantify the show because she's so fucking mad that how dare they show a sexual assault on screen.
Very unrelated though. I think trigger is kind of overused. It's mostly just
I'm just saying that it was a part of the meme.
Yeah, because I am similarly repulsed by gacha. I can't. If I see the gacha, I have a vicious reaction.
You're gonna be mad if we have that discussion about arknights later on.
No, it's not to bully you, but I have my things when I see it. From oh god, no, I don't want to, and then I turn off the screen or whatever, TV or whatever.
You are literally triggered.
I am very much triggered when I see sports, when I see the football on TV.
It's an old dated meme, but I don't know. It's the best way for me to describe it. It's like she's just so blinded by it that she
I just
can't look at.
Sometimes I feel that we need to say. No, not literally triggered, but more of, repulsed by. She really doesn't like it, so she's not going to bother.
Yeah, well, that's just getting into semantics. So it's
called How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom also has a plotline about the protagonist wanting to abolish slavery. This show makes some interesting points about the more realistic barriers there are to abolishing slavery. For example, the hero, Soma, has to consider the economic and political implications of ending the slave trade. Soma really emphasizes how he sees slavery as a violation of human rights and a total abomination, but he can't end it outright because he fears that he'll be putting the country on the brink of civil war if he does anything too drastic.
Oh, well, it sounds familiar. Where's Nretsew when we need him?
Sounds very American, somewhat. But
it sounds very American. Yeah, that's what I mean. Where's Nretsew? When's the? We need an American in here to comment on.
Lolly, save us, Nretsew.
But yeah, someone. But it is quite true though that there are, and this is why it's such a problem when they are like, oh, we need to completely derail the story to abolish the slavery, because it is a fact that you can't, like, abolishing slavery took a long fucking time, and it was not an instantaneous, like, flick of the wrist, snap the fingers, all of the slaves are suddenly, like, we are still, like, you could ask Americans and they would tell you that there are still lingering effects from the slave stuff to this day, even though it's been generations since then, right? So you like, it's not this. That's why it would completely derail a lot of these stories if they were like, well, I guess we're going to have an entire arc about, abolishing slavery or something, right? Like, and then, doing the thing, because you have to contend with all of these different factors. Because if you don't, it's just going to be lazy writing. Because
there are some weird. So, Harry Potter once again, right?
Your favorite example.
So, this comes from Joe mostly, but we can add our own stuff. It's forbidden in the Harry Potter world to make food with magic.
Okay.
But they can. Why are the Weasleys, it's translation, the redheads, the redhead family, why are they poor?
Yeah. Why are they poor?
Why are they poor? In this world of magic, why is anybody poor? Why isn't every mage living in a massive luxury? Oh, because
just carve a fucking mansion out of a mountain or some shit.
Just all your food expenses gone. That's just almost, and of course you can just magic a room bigger. What taxes do you pay on a magically enlarged house? But that stuff. The magic can make a lot of things easy, right?
Yeah, you have to have a level of suspension of disbelief, and if you get bogged down in a lot of because you could very easily, as a writer, right, get bogged down in having to deal with all of that bullshit, which is why a lot of writers just don't.
Yeah, and that's why Rowling digs her grave deeper every time she opens her mouth about Harry Potter. Oh no, mages just magic away their poop.
Yeah, that shit. Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to have that suspension of disbelief, and that gets shattered when you start having to factor in because people are able to suppress a lot. Like sometimes it like the immersion gets broken for different people over different things, right? But I think most people are able to watch or enjoy Harry Potter without necessarily thinking too much about that kind of stuff, where they're like, well, why are they poor?
Yeah, but then you get told, and then Rowling comes through the door and says, there's a law against making food with magic.
She comes in and she's like, well, actually, well, actually.
And then you ask them, why is there a law against making?
Yeah, why? Yeah, and then it becomes like it's a never-ending cycle. Yeah, and that's kind of what the problem is here with this. It's like, you know, and it's fine if the author wants to explore that in the work, right? Like in this case with the realist hero, I haven't watched it, but like if that is the arc that they want to do, they want to explore the idea of what does happen when, you know, the slavery needs to be abolished and also want to do it. Like, what is the process? Then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what they want to do. But you shouldn't expect every single author that wants to have slavery in their setting, you know, to have to go through the exact same arc, right? Like, you shouldn't expect that.
No, and just if you want to make this more real, just, you know, on this Earth, on this planet, we really should stop using oil, right?
Probably, yeah. Yeah,
but look at how much the oil companies struggle and whine and complain and want their subsidies.
How much money they
how
make,
much lobbying, how much effort, and how careful the politicians should be when they really should be more aggressive. But no, they can't. The economic growth above everything, even though everybody will die in a fire.
Yeah. All right, let's.
Now, this seems really noble of him. Until you remember that one time 3 episodes ago when he defeats an enemy of his and literally turns her into his slave as a punishment.
It's never good enough. It's never good enough. Anyway, I'm not going to repeat myself.
There's also this weirdly out of...
Yeah, it's a punishment. Okay. Let me understand here, right? I'm going to make an assumption here, right? I don't know the context, but let's suggest that this enemy of his did the slavery too. So the punishment is now you will have to endure what you made other people endure. Now that might not be the case. That I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm just going to hypothetically, right? let's hypothetically run under the assumption that is the case, right?
All right.
Where's the fucking problem? Because you could still abolish the slavery except for the people that were the slavers in a punishment kind of sense, right?
That's kind of a eye for an eye kind of deal. I don't
it
think
is.
that's really
It is, and you can have problems with that. I'm just saying that logically, you could make an argument that isn't necessarily a fucking bad. I mean, come on, we're talking about someone here who has probably the most simplistic morals of slavery man ever seen, right?
So
of course they're going to be okay with an eye for an eye, right? They would probably be fine if the man just fucking guillotined the slavers, right? And didn't give a shit about trials or due processes or contextual things. No, just murder them all, right? That's not going to cause generational resentment or anything, that's not gonna cause civil war or anything,
My own interpretation, by the way, of this situation is that they conspired to commit a coup or some kind, because it's rebuilding a kingdom kind of deal. That's the title.
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry. So I think my assumption is that those two or at least the dragon race or something.
The dragon people
are committing high treason. And
so
the only really punishment would be death, but he's going to make them a slave and then abolish slavery.
Right.
Because it's kind of it's not an empty threat because he executed on it, but it's still a very much an act of mercy by, I'm going to sentence you to exile.
I'm gonna sentence you to the thing that I'm about to abolish. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Okay. So yeah, but that's interesting then. But again, I'd have to watch the show to get the full context. I'd have to know what's going on, and I don't. But yeah. I'm just saying that there are hypothetical situations here where this could make sense and it could work in a story perspective. It's not necessarily because I think she's going to make the point that it's hypocritical that he is doing this, right? However, but you can I can see storytelling pathways in which this can work is what I'm saying. But again, it wouldn't be good enough. It would never be good enough.
Place scene where the same woman who was just turned into a slave is talking about how she was whipped as a punishment, but it's played off as some kind of joke.
That woman, she whipped me with a real whip. It didn't leave a mark on me, though the lashes burned my skin like fire.
The whip is love, and love must be accepted.
So that was just funny. Come on. And that was just a BDSM joke, come on, come on.
I don't mind clips to make the point, but I'm really missing more context, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and also dub. Anyway, I don't. The dub.
Also, yeah, dub bad.
Irks me.
Okay, so we're 0 for 3.
No, wait.
So we
don't diss on Night because it's super anti-slavery.
See what I mean? It's never going to be good enough, ever. You can't please these people.
I think I more than not being pleased, I think she already had a conclusion in mind.
Yeah. Alright, that's good.
We've established that isekai has a bad habit of trying to turn the hero into a sympathetic slave owner, and even in isekai where the hero is opposed to slavery, the subject matter isn't always handled with nuance. I think it's about time to stop presenting evidence and start wrapping up this trial.
Oh, it's so loud.
The audio mixing is really bad.
Well,
it's
I'm just looking at my little audio bars. I discovered that it's not even the decibels that's the problem. It's really just this sounds loud.
Right.
Because there are audio things that makes certain
things. And now,
things...
ladies, gentlemen, and degenerates of the jury.
Sorry, I just wondering.
There are certain things that sound louder than they are.
I wanted to get past the loud noise.
Yeah, it's fine.
when I unpause, it doesn't blow our ears.
I hope I saved the viewers from a little bit of the trauma.
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
It's time for me to make my closing argument and address the final and most important question of all. Who cares if there's slavery in isekai?
Hey.
Who
Alright.
cares?
Okay.
Who gives a shit?
Can you go for a little bit further?
I made a 13-minute video about it, but who gives a shit? So what did you want me to do? You want me to
a little bit longer? Is he going to quote the UN or something?
All right, let's see.
Sure, slavery is morally wrong, and a human rights violation, and misogynistic, and honestly pretty cringe.
Hey, wait a minute. Slavery is not... It's not inherently misogynistic.
I'm guessing that in the context of...
Like, what do you...
In the context of the shows she's mentioned, so...
I guess because of the whole woman thing, but it's like... I think it's kind of a stretch to be like, well, slavery, because she's talking about, slavery is a human rights violation, and
I mean, if it's right, if I'm right, she's really just conflating isekai slavery with the definition of slavery and says,
guy slaves cease to exist.
In this argument,
all of those black men on the boats to America that suffered the horrific conditions. It's so oh god. Okay, we've got Jim coming in with some context. Context man Jim has arrived. Dragon Girl was enslaved because she was part of an unprovoked attack on his kingdom. She was going to be put to death if she was not enslaved. Well, there you go.
Hey,
there you go.
I was somewhat right.
You were somewhat right. But anyway, let's hear about why slavery is cringe, because apparently we need to be told that.
But at the end of the day, anime is fiction. It deals with a ton of potentially problematic or morally gray topics. It has violence and murder and brothers obsessed with their sisters and sisters obsessed with their brothers and whatever the heck this is, and worst of all, hand-holding. So why make a big stink about slavery? If I don't want to watch...
Something really silly, right? A little bit of levity. Can you go back to that carriage?
Wait. Hang on.
And worst of all, hand-holding. So...
carriage.
That carriage looks terrible.
The suspension on it's pretty fucking wild.
I mean, a suspension, I don't think the suspension is a problem because it looks kind of mechanical and referenced from something. But why is it so high, that cage? Why is it so big for 3 people?
I don't know.
Why make a big stink about...
Those kids could go fit through those bars.
Oh yeah, they probably could, yeah.
I have so much issues with that stupid...
We're designed slavery cage in existence.
Slavery. I don't want to watch that one time I got reincarnated as a slave trader in another world. It's not like I'm being duct taped to a chair and forced to watch it. Nothing stopping me from turning it off and watching Pingu for the 432nd time. God, that penguin is wise beyond his years. But the way slavery is handled in isekai is a symptom of a greater issue. And that issue is that the isekai genre has become oversaturated with generic, I
love it. Oh no. So the problem is, I know where this is going to go. It's going to be like, this is either going to be normalization argument, or it's going to be something isekai oversaturation, something slavery in isekai, something bad, something, right? It's gonna be one of those arguments.
I need to know the flavor of why isekai is oversaturated.
Yeah, what are we dealing with?
Insert power fantasies made to sell as much manga or as many light novels as possible. And because Shield Hero and other shows with slaves had some success, including slavery became a part of the isekai formula.
Redo isn't the isekai.
We've already addressed why that's bullshit, so let's just keep going.
Consider the recently airing isekai In Another World with My Smartphone, a show so unbearably mid that the entire anime community, both Tumblr SJWs and 4chan degenerates alike, came together in solidarity to collectively agree that it is a shameless, soulless cash grab created for the sole purpose of pandering to the largest possible audience to make as much money as it can. anime just like
I don't really remember any of that, but I guess
I think it's Smartphone Isekai was made fun of the first season and kind of ignored afterwards.
yeah, I don't really remember any massive controversies around it either. Like it just kind of like was there. I didn't watch it. I didn't care enough about it. So yeah, I guess I'll just have to take her word for it. I guess because it wasn't on my radar.
many other industries, needs money to survive. But lately it seems like we're lurching closer and closer to creative bankruptcy as anime studios crank out more painfully mediocre isekai harems to sell body pillows and light novels and increase their profit margins.
So, the moralizing bullshit aside, right? Because I don't have to rant about that again. The idea I've talked about before, the idea that isekai is overwhelmingly taking over the industry is, in my opinion, fucking factually inaccurate. Because we've talked about how if you go onto the seasonal chart, you'll see like what 3, 4, maybe 5 at max isekais out of 30 something shows that come out in a season.
Yeah, it's just the new moe. It's the new harem, romantic harem comedy. It's the new mecha.
It's the new thing that people are gonna point to as, oh, it's ruining the animes, right? Because of the fact that
the
it
Naruto
exists.
clones are too much of those Naruto clones. Too much of the Love Hina knockoffs. Too much of the
Too much high
Gundam
school
fakes.
high school DxDs and itchy Hiram, so on and so forth or whatever. I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. Here's this season. Right, I'm having a look. I want to see.
In the grander scheme of things, I don't necessarily disagree that there are a lot of isekais.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there are, but it's like what? Let's see. We've got Fear in this season. That's not an isekai. Like I'm looking at like what's the most popular things at the top, right? You got let's see. That's the no, not isekai. Not isekai. Okay, that's one. That's one isekai. Action fantasy. That's not an isekai. That's not. That's apparently not. That's not. I've seen one so far. There's yeah. That's coming out in January.
I'm counting 5.
Oh, that's
and
two.
I think it's...
Yeah, that's 2. I see 2. Yeah, I see 2 so far with my scroll. 3. That's 3. 4. I think you're right. It might be 5. That's 5. 6. 6. That's 6, and then scrolling down even more. I'm thinking it's gonna be. Yeah, it's looking like it's about 6 this season. Out of how many in total? Yeah, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46.
You're over
47,
40.
48, 49, 50, 60, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69. The golden number. And I think I might actually be on next season, actually. Now, I think I'm on winter 2020. Oh, no, winter 2024's. Oh, yeah, so that'll be January. Yeah, so I'm actually looking at next season. I was looking at next season, apparently. So next season of anime, 6 out of 69 shows are going to be isekais. What is like? Can we do some math? What's the percentage of that? That's like
8%.
It's like 8% of the total anime for winter 2024 is going to be isekai. Like, and that's my point. It's like they act like it's completely overwhelming the entirety of anime when it's just not the case. And some of the stuff, like if you look at the top of the chart, right, like the number one thing that, because I have my live chart set by popularity, right, so stuff that's popular is at the top, right? So you've got Zom 100 zombie thing, the zombie anime, which I think has been coming out and is getting another choir, so that's going to be carrying over. Fair End's going to be carrying over. You got I think that's solo leveling is coming out. That's very hype. You got Undead Unlock Lux continuing.
But it's not an isekai.
I'm going for stuff that's not isekai. I'm talking about like what are the most popular things coming out? Like in the top 6, there's one isekai in the top 6, right? In terms of what's popular, right? And then it just kind of goes, down from there. So it's like, I like this idea that it's just all isekais everywhere, and then if you even go even further than that, you could probably go, okay, what percentage of those 6 isekais even have slavery in them or as a plot point in general? There's no evidence that of this argument that isekai is just completely dominating anime.
So,
right?
so this season, right? This season you have Shield Hero, Eminence in the Shadow, isekais, right? Eminence in the Shadow. There is the I favor the villainess, and what was it again? The English title, like saintly. Something the saints, a female isekai, a female-oriented isekai, where the main character is a saintly level figure. I think a potion maker.
Yeah, something like
None
that.
of those have slavery, and I don't include Shield Hero anymore because it kind of abandoned.
Shield Hero has foregone conclusion, but
I don't include Shield Hero anymore because the slavery is such a non-thing anymore.
Well, it did come up this season because part of his motivation for the season was to save a bunch of slaves from his village. That was like the first half of the season. So that you could say that it's there. It's still a plot point, and he's still trying to battle with it. And the whole point was he was saving a bunch of them. So you could. I don't know. Having watching it, I would say that you could argue that at least the first half of the current season.
Yeah, but the trope that was put on trial is that the main character was buying and maybe or maybe not fucking the slaves that he bought, and I favor the villainess has no slavery. A little bit of semi-indentured servitude mates because it's a medieval society. That's the absolute.
But you're not going to the slave market though, is what you're saying.
No, not at all. So, the isekais where slavery is a major plot point. At least in the beginning, that's Shield Hero. I guess Skelly Knight is one because it's the antagonistic entity of the show, and then it becomes then there's our couple, like How to Not Summon a Demon Lord is one where it's major, that's kind of magical slavery kind of deal, and there is the Labyrinth harem isekai that's kind of slavery focused. That's not a lot in my grand timeline of all the isekais.
The grand timeline of isekai, yeah.
I don't think there's any slavery in Spider. 300 years of killing slime.
Yeah, no, I remember. No. So yeah, no. Yeah. So to get back on point, right? I feel like you makes a really good point that it's a popular talking point, and then automatons just repeat it. It's like you have the NPC meme is like done to death, but I feel like sometimes it's very quaint. It's very accurate to how a lot of people function, where they just kind of act like pre-programmed individuals that have a BIOS update, and it's like the BIOS update in this case is, oh, isekai slavery bad, must be big mad about how the isekai slavery is bad, right? And I feel like that there's this, it's like they don't actually know why, and they can't articulate the why of outside of, oh, morally I find this reprehensible because it exists at all, right? Which, to my opinion, is not a fucking argument. Because story tools are story tools, right? It's more about the execution and criticizing the execution rather than the fact that it exists at all, right? So yeah, it's but I think we've kind of gone enough on this point that I just don't think that it is correct to say that isekai is taking over the anime industry, and that every anime that's coming out is just isekai, and the only thing people are talking about is isekai, right? I guess you could say it's like it's an Ouroboros, because everyone keeps talking about isekai, and then therefore that puts isekai into the limelight, so everyone has the perception that isekai is anime, is all anime.
I mean, if you're making a lot of videos and a lot of noise about isekai, then otherwise other people are going to talk about it.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And
at the minimum, YouTube is going to serve you more isekai videos because you've been watching it.
Yeah, and I guess we are kind of a part of the problem in that.
But I don't mind isekai. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we don't mind isekai, and we like talking about it. So because it's an interesting subject, both from a historical standpoint and just in general, it's a fascinating subculture, right? To kind of dive into. So that's why we cover it all.
Very framing in which you can do a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's partly also because there's so much misinformation and just outright fucking bullshit to kind of talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Shield Hero didn't inspire whatever other shows were in the same list.
Shows, no.
Not in the same year.
We got a little bit left, so let's see what our final point is.
For every gem with a unique art style, interesting premise, and compelling story, there are 10 cliche isekai harems.
Well, 6.
Well, Ave-san didn't, and Greatest Demon Lord nobody. Can you go back, because I'm interested?
Okay,
I mean, I think Realistic Hero has a neat art style, for example.
There we go. Oh, I went back a bit too far.
Pillows and light novels and increase their profit margins. For every gem with a unique art style, interesting premise, and compelling story, there are...
Okay, so that one that's kind of cut off. I've heard about that one.
Aphrodite.
Yeah, something like that. And then you have Death March.
Mm-hmm. He did buy a bunch of slaves, and it's fine because he's a nice slave guy.
Yeah, so I guess that counts. And then you have Smartphone.
10 cliche isekai.
Black Summoner, Realistic Hero, Greatest Demon Lord, and Typical Nobody. I think that's not an isekai, that's just somebody who reincarnated.
Probably. Let me read. We got some chats. It's the fact that people attach a morality component to complaining about these tropes. Yeah. Would we say some stuff of it has to do with generic? Yeah, you could say the same about some generic shonen stuff. Yeah, probably. So anyway, let's continue. So
harems. I know I'm not the
World Break.
Oh, she cut there in the middle of her
harems. I know I'm not.
Boop. There we go. Yeah, you got Eighth Sun, World Break, and whatnot. So I find it interesting because I'm looking at these shows, and I mean, I don't know if I'd say that they're all generic. Like, there's definitely a generic element to the art styles a little bit, but I don't know if I would, I mean, Eighth Sun looks distinctly different to World Breaker, and distinctly different to the one next to it. So,
Yeah, I mean, genericness is always so hard, because a good show, a good whatever really is just if we go.
You also have to
does
factor-
Fate Stay Night, Fate Zero, does it look generic or is that really fancy?
I think you have to factor in that a lot of the time the style is based on what the illustration style or the manga style is, right? For like the covers of the stories,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
So if you so depending on what artist you get to do the covers for what you're doing, right? It's one of those. Yeah, I don't like this whole anime generic thing because I think even within the isekai, even the ones we're seeing on screen right now, you could distinctly tell different sort of styles within them just because they're not like extremely unique. Like I think what was the one that she showed first on screen, it's like I think it's like
King's
something
Ranking.
King's Ranking, like just because it's not, you know, Studio Ghibli style-ish type, because that's what I would describe King's Ranking as. Looking at it, reminds me a lot of Ghibli. Just because it's not that, you know, wildly different from a traditional anime style doesn't mean that it's instantly generic, you know? It's, yeah.
Yeah, there's just a couple of genericness. I mean, I'm very much comfortable of calling something standard or, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing. I mentioned Fate Zero, and I'm pretty serious in that you can very much make an argument that it looks very generic because you see Fate everywhere, right? The Fate designs, you know a Fate design even if you've never seen watched
the art
Fate.
style is very recognizable, yeah.
So you can very much say that Fate Zero looks super generic because, you know, that artist also does stuff for other shows and the illustrator isn't just for Fate, so you see that art style elsewhere.
All right, let's continue.
Not the only one who has preached this hot take, but I'd rather add my voice to the choir than sit back and watch generic isekai clone itself until my entire Crunchyroll suggestion page is filled with variations of the same show repeated over and over again.
Well, maybe that's a fucking Crunchyroll problem. maybe you should stop using Crunchyroll. Maybe
she should use Sub, please.
Maybe you should, and maybe you should just, I don't know, watch something else. Just don't watch fucking isekai then. Anyway. Oh God, it's too loud.
Okay, so maybe none of the arguments I made today would actually hold up in a court of law. But I've done my best to present my case, and it's up to each member of the jury to decide whether they think slavery has a place in isekai. And by jury, I mean anime viewers and consumers.
That's not what they were all on trial
for. See, that's you know, it's the mask is slipping, Ellie. The mask is slipping.
Because it was about the overuse and the cringeness. That's what I gathered from
it.
it.
Now it's whether or not it has a place. See, again, they just want to censor shit. They just want to get rid of the stuff that they think is icky. You know, it's all moral bullshit. These fucking people
everywhere. Anime studios keep making generic slave-owning isekai because so far that has been what helped them turn a profit.
No,
but there are shows.
Slavery isn't
one of the most profitable anime of the last 3 to 5 years is fucking Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer, the movie for Demon Slayer, was so profitable and made so much money in the box office. I'm pretty sure I think if you go to Wikipedia, it says that it is the most highest grossing anime movie of all time. It beat Ghibli movies. Right?
If I'm remembering correctly, it was something like in ticket sales, half the population of Japan watched it.
Yeah, something like that. Now, there is an argument that was made about how, well, it happened right after COVID, so probably everyone's going to see it because, you know, whatever, you could I don't think that really diminishes the achievement.
No,
right?
if you have ticket sales that accounts for the half of the population of any nation, that's an achievement.
Yeah, idle anime does not exist apparently. Yeah, apparently, yeah, Pokemon does not exist. Like, isekai anime on its own probably only makes up a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of total gross.
And
right?
even none of the a minority of those isekais have any real form of slavery in them.
Yeah, it's such a, and Jujutsu Kaisen is you know, that's you know, that's currently massively popular and making.
I
tons
still
of money
avoided
too,
it.
so.
I mean,
Yeah, I still haven't watched it either. Yeah, but like, that's the thing, right? It's like the idea that they're pumping out all these generic isekais because it's, you know, making money or whatever. Like, you know, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't think it's correct. And I think if you look at the statistics and you look at what is actually making money, stuff like Demon Slayer is going to be making money. Stuff like One Piece is still going to be making money.
oh no,
you know, like,
they're all going back to the shonen. It's going to be shonen all over again.
Shonen all day, every day shonen, yeah. But anyway,
prepare yourselves.
There's out there that do it better. Anime like Vinland Saga, a critically acclaimed show about Vikings, which spent basically its entire second season showing the dehumanizing and horrific cost of slavery. There's
yes, the historical piece about medieval Viking Europe that is somewhat historically accurate and immersive is going to show you the dehumanizing factor of slavery that was very rampant in that era of history. Yes, of course it is. You dumbass. Also, I haven't watched Vinland Saga, but what's going to make that depiction of slavery different to the depiction of slavery in Skeleton Knight that she's so disgusted by? Because
no sex.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched. I don't know anything about Vinland Saga. Does it have sex in it? I don't know.
Don't think so.
I wouldn't know. Well, I wouldn't know, right? But like, this is what I mean. This is where the hypocrisy comes in. It's like, is it because it's happening to a man? Is it suddenly okay because the man is suffering the
No, I think
stuff?
I think that her problem is that Skelly Knight has sexual slavery in that, and sexual slavery is a fetish thing, and therefore,
and it's
etc.
it's depicted and it's fetishy. Whereas it's probably going to be something like that. But anyway,
it's also the 1999 anime Now and Then, Here and There, a haunting dystopian nightmare about child soldiers, which emphasizes the repercussions of war and is not for the faint of heart.
Can we pause real quick because I never watched Here, Then, and
me neither. I haven't.
Now, Then, and Here and There. I have through osmosis I have learned or come to learn that it's big whitewashing show or something. That the show the show has some gruesome stuff in it, but in the end everything is all right because the result was good, right? Or something. That's what I assume.
Yeah, I've seen it get recommended a lot. Yeah. So anyway,
war crimes were justified, I guess, in the show.
something like that, yeah.
As one of the greatest animated movies of all time, due to its impressive voice cast, amazing animation, characters, cinematography.
Yeah. Just read the Wikipedia article.
And a wonderful musical.
I'm bored. Can I just criticize this Wikipedia saying that? Is it really a good Wikipedia if it says "and most importantly"? Isn't that really opinion?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good Wikipedia style.
Yeah, anyway.
Score. A film that just encapsulates everything that...
Prince of Egypt doesn't count as an anime.
But it's too...
No, it's not an anime. It's a 1998 DreamWorks movie.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
All right.
Okay. So, final thoughts. I think the video is just moral grandstanding nonsense. It's just moralizing. Slavery is bad because slavery is immoral. Slavery shouldn't be an isekai unless it's hyper-focused on how bad slavery is because of my moral intuitions about slavery. And if it's anything other than that, or used as a narrative tool in any way other than that, it's bad and should be censored because I find it gross and icky and disgusting. That's the video summarized pretty much, and that's really my final thoughts. Really.
So, Nretsew, I think we
icon with a trash mug.
Oh no, the trash poison.
I'm not gonna rant about that again, but yeah, I'll let you continue.
I think we can have some good criticism about every isekai show mentioned with slavery in it.
And we did. We had very good discussion. I feel both of us about the topic. I think we had a.
So even in Skelly Knight, right? Apparently, it's all sexual slavery, but that's kind of a really niche thing, right? I mean, slavery in general is a very broad thing, and to only fight sexual slavery really does diminish slavery in general. I guess that's my I not watched Skelly Knight's criticism of Skelly Knight's.
Zero context.
Zero context. Yeah. I'm criticizing the slavery in Skelly Knight. If it's mainly sexual slavery, that's my substantive criticism of the use of slavery in Skelly Knight. Just like our criticism of how Rudy should have more moral clarity in Mushoku Tensei, how the slavery in Shield Hero is kind of never really resolved, that power imbalance.
Yeah. And we talked about that at length. Yeah.
And I guess there were watching the realistic hero rebuilding a kingdom. I'm sure that he's making it more difficult, and it needs to be that he can enact some more aggressive policies than he's going to, because the author himself isn't really a radical. Therefore, is going to be very moderate policies instead of harsher reforms. There are thousands kind of legitimate, not legitimate, that's kind of a too loaded term, very substantive criticisms of the use of slavery in isekai, but it must be more tailored to the show itself. Because when it's used as a narrative tool, then it should totally be allowed in every form the story needs to be. But if it's really a tool, if it's just used for shock once, like I guess in Skeleton Knight, then it really should be expanded on later. And if the narrative tool in Shield Hero has reached its conclusions, then it really should be resolved or removed or dealt with. And if it isn't, then it's kind of a loose thread. And if our main character has grown much as a person in character and in morals, then you expect that character would object at least somewhat to slavery when he encounters it later in life. That's what I kind of want from a criticism of slavery in isekai. Some kind of tailor-made to each show, and maybe generalize it overall, like most slaveholders in isekai fall into the category of nice guy, therefore the slavery contract, the slavery arrangement is fine, when that is not actually the case because power imbalances and so forth and so forth. That's the general criticism, and of course even Rudy, the guy with moral clarity, more moral clarity than in the beginning, because it's part of this growth, still is the good slave holder, because he doesn't treat Julia as a slave, even if she was bought as one. That's There's criticism of slavery in isekai. I don't think calling it icky does it justice.
The problem is that it's not. It's coded in this glaze of moral superiority and moral grandstandingness. That's the problem, right? Because it's like you said, you can have these criticisms, and a lot of them are probably valid criticisms to have, but because she kind of prefaces it with this whole moral stance that she seems to have but doesn't want to necessarily commit to, I think it weakens the argument as a whole. I think that was it was a good video to cover. We had some good discussion about it.
I was kind of worried because I didn't check or vetted this video at all. It could have been a total disaster.
Yeah, well, we almost got a full 3 hours out of it, so it kind of went good. I mean, we're gonna talk about a few other things before we jump off, so I guess we can switch over to casual talk. I want to talk about Fucken because and you should check the chat, by the way. You should have a look at the Discord. There's a photo in there that you got to put up on the screen for when we talk about Fucken.
I'll throw it into.
I'm putting some more work on Ellie. I'm offloading some work onto him to set up the fun
open
times.
Image in new tab, drag it to the folder, drag it into OBS into the scene which isn't used still.
Yeah.
Rerun gives advice. There we go.
All right. Yeah. I will await it showing up on the.
I am transitioning. New scene.
It's gonna take me a minute to get to see it.
But we're in.
I have noticed that YouTube's been sporadically getting better and worse, so I think it's a server problem, probably, or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll. So yeah, Fucken. Total demon death. Total demon death. Total demon destruction. Is I just saw the transition. Oh, it's buffering. I'm waiting for the transition to yeah, there we go. Total. You should love you. So I was while Ellie was doing his little rant. He was summarizing his stuff. I was on Twitter looking at all the fantastic art that's come out of the episode. Hughes has put out another masterpiece, and there was one from another artist that I follow that was pretty good. If you want to see those, I guess you'll have to find my Twitter and go and look at those, because we can't bring those up on stream for clear reasons. The episode was really good. It was also really interesting. It was really, really interesting. What did you think about it?
I think I'm going to be slightly negative and say it felt a little bit slow.
It was a little bit slow. Oh no.
I have bad opinions. Because it was very clear what was going to happen for a very long time, so the reveal wasn't as shocking or impactful.
Yeah, I think they foreshadowed it a bit too hard. It was foreshadowed way too hard, in my opinion, as well, and it kind of ruined the moment because you knew how it was going to end. And I somewhat mentioned before we started the stream, we had a little bit of a discussion about it, but I mentioned that one of the things I wish they kind of did was they sort of had the demon girl, I can't remember her name, Aura or whatever. I think that because they hinted in the previous episode that people could, if they were strong-willed enough, they could somewhat resist the power the slavery scales or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? I felt like it would have been more interesting to have the demon sort of fight the low tier god order, the fight the kill yourself order. I'm just gonna say it. Fuck it. I don't want to fucking beat around the bush about it. I would have preferred if she had resisted a bit more. Maybe tried to do some pleading or whatever, demon trickery, right? To try and self preservation or whatever a little bit. I would have liked some of that, mostly just because it would have made it a bit more impactful, a bit more hammering in the point, I guess, because I felt like it was very quick. It was just low tier god yourself, and she just got, there was some resistance, but she just kind of does it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would have been a bit more better if there was a little bit more resistance to it, and it was a bit more like, it could have had a bit more impact. But other than that, though, I think it was definitely a fun episode. It was fun, and it was, despite the foreshadowing issues, it was the memes and the artwork that's come out of it has been fucking great. I've been really enjoying the funny memes that have come out of it.
Alright, you need to look up this tweet yourself. OBS doesn't play very nice.
No,
I'm increasing the
You're doing fun things in the background.
Yes, don't worry about
doing
it.
doing some light graphic design to bring up some tweets. So yeah, no, I've been very much enjoying the show. I think it's very good. Oh, yes, I see now. Yeah, you're bringing up another one. We just keep them. Yeah, Farron gives some advice. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see you mucking around with it now. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So besides, I'm too busy with being funny in OBS.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a little bit too much foreshadowing in. Well, not really foreshadowing, I guess. And well, that's the only really my main criticism. It kind of deflated the showdown, because because
you knew what was going to happen before it happened.
Yeah, because from the moment that Lugner said to Fern that hey, why is your mana so low? Wait, what? What?
Yeah.
Then was, oh wait, she's suppressed. She's lowering her mana output, her profile, or her stealth profiles. She's lowering it. Became 20 minutes of waiting until Frieren would unleash her big mana.
Yeah, because when you had when you had your I think that was definitely a thing. It's like you already had the explanation given to you of what was going to happen and how it was going to.
But I'm very much, I don't know. I just appreciate that old time was Greek. That 1,000 years ago they were Greek.
Yeah, it was very Greek styled. Yeah, and now it's medieval styled in the sense.
Which is kind of if Rira lives another 2,000 years, she's in modern time.
Yeah. Should be quite funny. That would be interesting from a story perspective to watch that happen. See how that plays out.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. I don't really have much else to say about it other than people should watch it because it was quite entertaining, and also to enjoy the fun memes and the fun artworks that have been coming out based on it, because it's been good. Other than that,
I am curious what the next arc is going to be, because these last 3 episodes
have been dedicated to this. Yeah.
Yes. So next episode would be the finale, I guess, for the season. Will be to episode 12. or maybe they'll go to 14. I haven't checked the schedule at all for Freedom.
Yeah.
But if they're
I
just
think,
going
yeah,
to,
I know it's carrying on into next season.
yeah, but it's still going to be, or it's going to be the 14 episode this season.
It's 28 episodes total, and we're on 10 now. So
40. I guess we'll get to 4 extra episodes this season. So I guess it will just continue with 2 cores.
Yeah,
back
I
to
think
back.
I think it's just continuing because you had like the first 3 coming out instantly, and then something like that. So yeah, no.
I was worried about a season finale or a core finale, I guess. But if there isn't, it will just continue into the next arc.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
It's gonna be good.
Oh
The
no,
buffering
Davey.
is getting worse. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. There's nothing much we can really do about it.
It's probably YouTube. I don't see anything.
It's weird because it's gotten better for me now, so it must be a YouTube problem. We can do some experimenting. If it's a problem next stream, it must be Ellie might have to just knock the settings down a little bit or something. Try and,
I have dropped 11 frames out of the 1300,000.
Yeah. It's good. It's all good. It's all good, Davey. You've been good to talk in the chat, so it's been nice. Yeah. We'll catch you next time, man. We've got a few other things I kind of wanted to talk about before we ended anyway. For instance, I believe you mentioned to me that you started watching good old Eminence.
Yeah.
You started watching Shadow Man, so I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts on that are.
So my thoughts about the Eminence is that he's kind of a dick.
Yep, he is, isn't he? Because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit.
But then it's really kind of a abusive relationship because it's really that I'm not entirely clear of how much Eminence knows he's in. Does he even know that they're fighting the Diablos cult?
Well, I think if you recall in the first season, it's implied that he was kind of just making that shit up.
Yeah, he totally made it up, but
he makes that shit up, and then it just conveniently so happens to be true.
But the thing is that he's still absent for any real major plot development relating to the cult.
Well, yeah, outside of maybe. Although then again, I don't know if you count when he meets the witch demon girl.
But they never discussed the cult, right?
No, I don't think they do. Because to him, it's all just kind of like window dressing for him being the big dick Chad man. It's all just kind of like he wants to be big dick Chad man, and he does things to be cool.
Yeah, so in what I think his perspective is that when he sometimes when he does a cool thing, some other guy is doing his own thing and he's going to stop it or intervene, and then he's going to be cool in that scene, and then he messes up the entire Diablos cult.
And that gets emphasized when he. How far are you at the moment? Have you gotten into season 2 yet?
I'm caught up.
Okay, so that kind of gets emphasized when the vampire stuff's going on, and he like fucking wrecks the vampire that's trying to revive the chick, and he's disappointed that there's no actual final boss battle because he wanted to look cool,
Yeah, but even then, because I had this first thought. It's like the first episode of the second season, I think. Then. When they're talking about the red moon, right? So the moon is red.
Yeah, and he just keeps repeating that shit over and over.
And he's just thinking, this entire room full of people are just ad-libbing along with what I'm saying.
I don't know if that's I think it's more because he picked that up from the redhead chick, right? Who says that to him. Like, I think it was more just like he thought that sounded cool, so he's just going with the flow, and he's just repeating it because he thinks it sounds cool and it makes him look cool to say it constantly.
Well, he had a line. When at the end of it, when he said that like 10 times, he said, "Oh, all these, they all are playing along with me. What good people they are." So he wasn't even, he wasn't aware or didn't conceive of the idea that they were being serious, and he was just messing around, and that kind of worries me for him as a character, as a person, I guess. That
you're worried there's not going to be any development, basically.
Well, I'm more worried for the other characters that they're. I mean, I was going to say this last time, but then the last episode came out when that fear became reality, where the entire group they build up, even with the secret base and all that stuff, are just going to be abandoned because he didn't know what our Shadow or our Sid guy was going into. And the major disappointment when the truth is revealed, because I don't see Sid being serious suddenly. He always goes around saying how little he cares about things other than looking cool. And that sounds just like a terribly toxic person to be around if he only really cares about himself. Because he doesn't really looks to care. Because every time somebody of his group shows concern, he rationalizes it as something else. And I don't think he really is ready to take responsibility for what he's done. Because that's
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I feel like what makes it entertaining for me, at least, is it's. I'm not going to say it's as good as Overlord, but it's similar to Overlord in that you have part of the entertainment comes from how the world reacts to his shenanigans, right? And I think that I don't disagree with you. I think you're quite spot on that he does have this flaw and problem as a character. I see that as kind of the point, though. I would be interested to see if there does end up being some form of development with him where he maybe fucking gets his shit together and maybe realizes, wait a minute, maybe taking things seriously might also be cool. You know, maybe I can do both, right? I don't know. I haven't read ahead or looked ahead, right? But I've heard that in the manga and the light novel, you get a lot more of his internal monologue.
As you expect.
He monologues a lot about like things, and apparently it's a lot more clear what his motivations are and why he's doing the things that he's doing and why he thinks that like what he wants to do. So I'm not entirely. I'd have to read it to kind of get contrast the differences, right? So I can see where you're coming from, but I don't. For me, that doesn't make it less entertaining because I'm getting the entertainment value from just how absurd it gets, I guess, in a sense, because you have all of this like crazy stuff going on in the world, and right now we've got this arc going on with the whole secret agent, get rich quick scheme, stuff where he's like pseudo betraying the group in a sense. But I feel like what's going to end up happening is he's just going to be like, it was my plan all along. It was all part of my grand scheme, or whatever. To defeat the cult or whatever, and then everything's going to probably go back to normal, right? So I'm interested to see where it goes. And I've found it entertaining so far, despite the issues with it.
Yeah, you can compare to Overlord, but I
only compare it to Overlord in the sense of there's a similar entertainment value with how does the world react to Ainz as an overpowered character, right? And how is the world going to interact with his existence, where so it's less about him as a character and more about the world itself. Whereas in Eminence and Shadow, you have it's not executed as well, but I feel like it has the same vibe to it, right?
So
that's where a lot of it comes from.
I think that Eminence in Shadow is different enough that I don't have to compare to Overlord.
Yeah, it is different enough.
Because I have my opinions about how Sid is as a character is independent really of how Overlord does it. But let me backtrack that statement right away and say how I think Overlord does it differently, in that Sid isn't affected by the world at all, not by his fellow, by his cult that he made, not by the world. He's just there for himself. And he doesn't really, I mean, I guess with more monologues, things might be more clear, but he really seems unaffected by everything and the world itself. While Ainz is very much concerned about the world and how other people see him. And, you know, not even see him, but what they think of him. Because for Sid, it's about, look at me. And for Overlord, it's really from, please don't think I'm not competent. Well, Sid doesn't care about competence. He cares about his cloak and standing in the shadow, and saying silly
cool.
things.
Yeah. He wants to be cool. Yeah.
So when Ainz learns that a thing happened, he's very concerned, and he's rattling through his mind, his empty head, his empty bone head, 1,000 different scenarios, skull, yeah. And then says, Demir, explain it for me.
Yeah. How am I going to navigate the situation?
Yeah, and while Sid's method of dealing with a situation is, the shadows are gathering. And then,
cool.
Yes,
I'm gonna fight the big fight.
Oh fuck! I don't know what's going on. I'm going to say a cool thing because I don't.
I am atomic. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's my comparative problem, or comparative.
Review. To be honest, even if the area is evacuated, it takes a certain kind of person to unleash a nuke in the middle of a city. Yeah. It's pretty. That's true.
Because I thought about that operation, right, and even then he's fighting somebody with the cult, presumably, but. He doesn't really seem to take any new information in, right? He's completely static as a character. And I always said that if the main character is way overpowered, then it's not about the power, it's about the character. But Eminence isn't really about the character either.
Yeah, it's interesting, in my opinion.
That's why I agree that more characterization is given to his followers and the other supporting character
and the characters, yeah.
But Overlord does it also, and I'm going to be mean.
But Overlord does it better. That's
and does it better. That's I was going to say I'm going to be mean and say Overlord does it better.
Yeah, and I even agree with that.
I will finish season 2 for you, Nretsew, because
for me.
But
yes.
I really want some taking of responsibility from him.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're gonna get that, but we'll see what happens. And I'm gonna keep watching it even past season 2 because I just find it entertaining. So I don't know. But here's the thing: your criticisms are valid. You've been validated.
I feel validated.
Yeah, I have validated you. So yeah, no, I've been, and I enjoy it, and it's good. Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. Dr. Stone is Dr. Stone. Don't care. Shield Hero is Shield Hero.
Well, I'm really. Almost at the point where I want a scene from Dr. Stone, and they're not there yet.
Okay, well, I'll let you know. They're at the point now where they're trying to rebuild the statue to expose the old guy to do the thing. That's where they're at
Oh
right
no,
now.
Samu is looking for beef, Nretsew.
Oh, really? Oh, really? I mean, mid hero, yeah, mid hero. Well, no, I mean, Shield Hero is pretty mid. I'll be real. Like, it's pretty blah. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it had a really good first, like, half of the first season, and then it's just kind of become it's the same issue Redo has, right? Like, where it starts off really strong, and then it just kind of tapers out, which is it's Arknights, not necessarily the anime, but the game has been really good. The anime is just kind of continuing on the Frost Nova arc, which, if you know anything about it, it's depression. Depression is happening.
Frost arc
but
sounds very subdued.
Frost Nova is a character.
Nova.
It's all ice stuff.
Yeah.
Goblin Slayer, we got to see the girls in the bikinis, so that was good. Because it's pretty good. And then that's about
even the Hero Saint, by the way. I don't think so, right?
Yeah, all of them were in bikinis. All of them.
I'll look at some screenshot or fan art later.
Yes.
Not actually watch the show because I'm it's too late.
I've been catching up on it. So I wanted to talk so Arknights, right? There's an event going on called Lone Trail that I posted a tweet in the Discord chat. You don't have to bring it up, but basically there was so one of the writers on Baldur's Gate was singing its praises, even though I'm not sure if I agree with their assessment necessarily, because it seems to be very so they're looking at it for a certain lens that I don't know if I agree with or not. But the event itself has been a really fascinating read. But it would probably take an entire fucking podcast for me to just talk about all of the fucking lore around why it's so fascinating. But I guess the TLDR is it's the culmination of an entire story arc around Rhine Lab and scientific advancement in pseudo-America, right? And you have a lot of really funny, interesting things going on, such as stopping the assassination of Ronald Reagan. literally, like the guy literally looks like Ronald Reagan. I swear to God, they modeled the character to literally just look like Ronald Reagan. It's fucking great. But then you have so there's also a lot of really interesting things because it's all about space. Because the main antagonist, I guess, even though she's not necessarily an antagonist, but she wants to breach through. So Arknights has this thing called the barrier, which is there's a barrier in the sky, and supposedly the sky is a fake sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she is trying to break through the barrier, and there's this whole interesting kind of backstory around her, because do you want to know what her last name is? Her last name is Wright, as in the Wright brothers.
Oh,
right. And so her mum and dad died in a accident test to try and breach the sky barrier, I believe, or try to fly as higher than anyone has ever flown, right? And so her whole motivation is that she wants to she starts Rhine Lab with the end goal of being able to achieve space travel. And that whole story arc that involves science, unethical scientific experiments, the efficacy of doing unethical things to supposedly good ends, the consequences of those experiments in characters like Ifrid and Rosmontus, and the moral quandaries, as well as a bunch of lore stuff about possible Alimal influence on the world and stuff. And so there's a lot of really, really fascinating stuff going on in Arknights story-wise that I really wish I could talk to someone else who actually has, because it would be interesting to talk about it with someone that's also experiencing it. But I don't know anyone else that I could bring on the show that is actually as invested in it as I am, right? That would know what I'm talking about. Because it's fantastic. There is a manga that they put out, which is on the storyline that you can read. I think it's on their website or whatever, but I think they're bringing it out as a physical edition soon as well. Which kind of goes into Ifrid's backstory and the diabolic incident and that kind of stuff. Which could give you a good like foothold into what's going on. But I've been really, really enjoying reading it. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably going to keep playing through the missions and reading it as the week goes on. So Arknights is really. I feel gacha games. I know you hate your gacha games, right? As me.
No, I'm jostling. I'm joking.
I know you are. But
they can't hold my attention. The daily login thing just.
I think what I'm getting at is I feel like they get a bad rap, right? Because I don't think there's another medium where we are currently getting to the culmination of, I think it's like almost 4 to 5 years worth of storytelling, right? Where they've been where you've had the game come out initially, and they planted all of these little seeds, right? Of all of these little, like, you have the Rhine Lab stuff, you have the Liberia stuff with the Seaborn, you have the main story around Amia and the Sarkaz, you have like the Angels, Sulkers, and their story, which is going to get an event soon, right? And you have all of these little world building seeds going on, right? And they're all kind of, as the years have gone on, they've all sort of started flowering and giving fruit in their own ways. And it's been fascinating to kind of watch that happen. Because the problem I have is because people will dismiss gacha because of, you know, the dailies and the gacha itself and the gambling elements and blah 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 and all of those criticisms, but they fail to kind of look at it from a perspective of how else would you be able to kind of like the storytelling method, right? Like, how else would you be able to do that in modern day if not having this sort of season-based, not seasonal, because I'm not talking about like seasonal as in like a battle pass. But I'm talking about like you have the story being told via these events that come around every like month or so. You'll have a new event that will cover like a different seed, right, and give you more fruit from the tree or whatever. And then have all of these sort of tangentially related seeds kind of connect into each other in certain ways. And I feel like gacha games and the way that they're set up is really the only way that you can do that. Unless you, I don't know. It's a thought that's been rattling around in my brain cage, right? And I haven't quite formulated a final thesis about it. Because I find it interesting. You know, I find it interesting. And I also find it interesting because of the fact that if you look at Chinese video game development in general, right, they're almost going through the same history that we did in the West, where you started with like 2D games, right? We had like 2D, and then now we're starting to see more of a transition into 3D, and different storytelling elements and things that are, you know, involving like the difficulties and challenges involved with transitioning from 2D to 3D, right? Because Arknights actually announced the next game in the series, which takes place like 500 years in the future, which is called Enfield, right? So Arknights Enfield. And that's going to be from what I can tell, you might even like it because it's basically Satisfactory. It's a 3D run around, beat the shit out of things, and then you resource gather, build factories that produce more resources to do. So you're building factories and stuff that'll let you build bigger bases and stuff like that because you're basically colonizing this planet or something. I find it fascinating. The whole topic itself is fascinating to me, and how it's like a microcosm of video game history happening at a rapid pace compared to what it took from, like, you know, going from Atari all the way to what we have now in AAA, right? It's fascinating stuff to look into and be involved in. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about rant about that. Rant about it.
Nah, I was going to say something about stories that are told via gacha aren't necessarily more valuable because they're told via gacha.
Oh no! Oh yeah, no. I'm not saying they're more valuable. I'm just, yeah. I'm saying that they're valid for a start, right? Obviously, like I'm not necessarily like sucking them off and saying, "Oh, this is the future of storytelling, guys. We need to." Oh, everyone needs to adopt. I'm not. Yeah, I didn't want that to be what my point was, and I'm not making that point.
You said a thing, and I had a very fancy line. Oh, I thought up, but then I forgot. It was something like.
And then you forgot it.
The medium structures the narrative. That's what I was going to say.
Right.
The medium structures the narrative. So that has nothing to do with the quality of the narrative.
Yeah.
So also the Twitter thing fixed itself. Freeran's that in login thing doesn't cover Freeran's face anymore.
Nice.
Very odd. So I am interested as a curiosity to see what kind of narratives and what kind of structure the narrative has for Arknight and gacha games in general. What can they do what other mediums can't? But I'm just I'm triggered. Trigger warnings. I'm super triggered by the gacha because they have systems and incentives that don't work on me. And because they kind of rely on those incentives.
I think that if we're going to talk about the how the medium affect, I think it's the long form nature of it. Because it's the delivery method of, okay, so you have an event and that gives you part of the story, and then you have, you follow that storyline over the course of several years, right? And it's given to you in these kind of like chunks, right? So you'll get like the first Ryan Lab event, which was, I think, a while ago. I think that was Dorothy's
but my problem is kind of really of a more shorter thing, in that the story is. So when I tried I bet was it that other one that you liked?
I don't know. It could have been Arknights or GFL.
GFL. I believe I tried GFL, and it was just really tedious, and it was very was incredibly slow, and it was very handholdy in the beginning.
Early GFL is like that, and that's a big problem. Is that the start of these games tends to be quite rough.
But also, I played Fire Emblem Heroes a lot because there wasn't a free houses and there wasn't a engage and even something like. There was no Fire Emblem, and then Nintendo released a Fire Emblem for the phone, and I played it a bunch. The story was whatever, very inoffensive. But eventually I fell off, but then I came back, and it's a wall of 1,000 little stats and variables and weird maps and units that you've never seen and variations and skill trees and whatnot. It's impossible to get in, even if I played it a bunch. It's kind of the same as Hearthstone in that regard.
So I want to kind of address what Samu's been saying in the chat, right? That the problem and strength of gacha is that you are the main character of your own anime. When you play a gacha, the problem comes with all animes. You need to get through the bad to get to the good. So the second half of that, I agree. You do have to get through the bad to get to the good. But the problem with that, there's been a sort of transitional period within gacha, because a lot of, if you look at older games like GFL and Lane, right, especially in their early years, they would definitely self-insert style, right? Where you have the main character be just, a generic self-insert. But over time, there's been a transition into the player character being their own character. Particularly in Arknights, where you're playing the Doctor, and yes, you are, you get some dialogue choices as the Doctor, but the Doctor is still his own character and is an integral part of the world. He's not just like, the captain of the ship, like in Honkai or whatever, where he, like, all of the story is sort of happening around you, right? With the Doctor and Arknights, yeah, there's a lot of story that happens around you, but you are still a key, both in terms of lore, which we're finding out in this event, but also in terms of other things. You are still a integral part of the story, and in GFL's case, you start off as a self-insert, and then as time has gone on, they have now turned that self-insert into its own character, who has its own personality and its own, traits and stuff. So there's been a bit of a change, and I think a lot of people have stigmas of gacha that might have been correct several years ago, but because they haven't kept up with the evolution of the genre, they haven't seen how it's gone from what it was to what it is, right?
Kind of sounds like the development of Fire Emblem, because in the first Fire Emblem, at least Fire Emblem 7, the first one that came out of Japan, for the GBA, you were a nameless, faceless character. You could, say, I am male or female, and here's a name and birthday, and that's it. And the characters addressed you.
And on the point of the filler, right? I'm just to
go ahead, and then I'll go.
So I wanted to address that too, because with it depends on what you consider. What is filler, and do you consider filler to be bad? Is the question. Because I could say, yeah, okay, there are some events in Arknights that, like minor events that don't necessarily have like a major like importance to things in a sense. But if they're still good, right, and it still builds upon the lore of the world, and it still provides you with an entertaining story, could you really necessarily, like, is it really a negative, right? Even though you could say, oh, they're just filling in like a gap before they get to like a next major plot point, because the time between, because the main story in Arknights in terms of the chapters that aren't events, it takes them a long time to get those out. And the main story, which is following the stuff happening in the London allegory, the English allegory, is taking quite a while to come out. But in between that, we've been getting all of these major events and minor events that kind of happen at different points in the timeline as well. Like the stuff happening in Lone Trail is, I believe, happening after the events of the main current story by probably a few years. So there's like this weird kind of splattering of the timeline going on in Arknights, where you'll have events that take place in the past and the future. It's not linear, right? So yeah, so I don't know. It depends on what you consider filler, quote unquote, and whether or not you consider filler to be a negative connotation or not, in a sense. Yeah, I just want to touch on that.
Yeah, so I also have just a general issue with the system of daily loggings and punishment if you don't make it. So because then you stop playing, you're not playing optimal anymore.
Yeah, there's a level of FOMO to it in a sense, where if you don't do the dailies and you don't log in, you fall behind, right? And you miss out on stuff if you don't keep up with it, which is something that is not necessarily exclusive, at least now, to gacha, but it is definitely something that gacha uses as a mechanism to keep you invested and keep you playing the game, because that's what they want. They want people playing the game, right?
But the problem is that my mindset in that scenario is that if you say if you're punishing me for not playing optimal anymore, then I'm not feeling the game anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I
can understand.
I don't see it really as a reward for keeping up. It's a punishment for not for for working very hard and being tired afterwards.
Yeah, wanting to take a break from it. Yeah. No, I get you.
But then I'm falling behind, and I don't get, tomorrow I would get, 10, bullets for my girlfriend online currency, whatever.
My girlfriend online currency. Yeah. No,
I
understand that,
and then I'll miss out.
Yeah.
And then that means I don't have, 10, the 10 that I would need for a full pool of characters or stuff.
And I think that's definitely a factor that could be worked on. Definitely, I feel like they should be a bit more lenient in that. But I guess it's all just part of the psychology of it. To try and keep people involved. I mean, I play them because I don't really have much else to do, and I kind of, I only play a certain number of them, and if I needed to drop one, I'd probably end up dropping Lane because Lane is the one that's the easiest to kind of drop out of, and not worry about missing out too much on stuff. But anyway, that was just me wanting to talk about gacha for a little bit, I guess, specifically because I've been enjoying Lone Trail. And I mean, hey, look, the Arknights anime is coming out, so if you wanted to experience it that way, the only problem is going to be like that anime. I mean, it's so weird because it's at the very beginning of the story, and it's probably going to take them so fucking long to get to anything that I would consider to be actually fucking great. Like, and if they were going to get to that point, I would say it would have to be explored. And like if they did like a fucking Liberian movie with the Abyss Hunters and stuff, that would be fucking dope. Like just give me like an entire movie about that. That would be fucking cool. So yeah. And I guess to cap off with Samurai's Fort, it depends. Ginkshin filler, because you like the cast. You don't like artillery gear filter because I'm more invested in the main story. Yeah. So yeah, it does kind of depend a little bit on that factor. So there is one more thing before we end.
Yes.
One more thing. I wanted to surprise you with something.
Ooh.
Since we're close to the end. I started watching something on Netflix.
Yes.
Right? I started watching a little. It's something that. I wonder if you can guess what it is, right? It's something that I know you've mentioned that you're a fan of, right? And you tend to bring it up in comparison to something that I quite like, right? And it's
on Netflix. It's cyber. You got Cyberpunk. You got.
Well, I already liked Cyberpunk. So
Blame is one thing. I guess I don't think Knights of Sidonia is on Netflix anymore.
It's not an anime. It's not an anime. I'm having fun. Here, torturing you. Just trying to get you to think about.
I like I like the documentary series on some of the
I've started from the very, very beginning, all the way back in the 1960s and 70s.
Star Trek.
Yes, a little show, a little show, a little. I mean, you might not have heard of it,
maybe not, maybe.
Not you, yeah. You might not have heard of it, Mr. Star Trek is so much better than Star Wars. Every time I bring up Star Wars,
I still believe that.
Well, that's why I want to bring it up near the end of the cast because I don't have a lot to talk about. So I'm about 7 episodes into the original series. I started from the very, very beginning. I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way back. I'm going to start from the beginning with the pilot and went from there because that's what's on Netflix. Funnily enough, they've got the whole bloody thing on there. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Let's do it. It's good. It's really good. It's very interesting to see differences between media back then and media now. It was the very same feeling I had when I was watching the original Gundam movies on Netflix too, the 079 Gundam. Because you have this, it's like, I don't want to say like it's not woke, EGS or whatever fucking bullshit, but there's definitely this like, it's a progressive show, especially for the era when you look at it in context of when it came out. But it does it in a way that's much better than shows that claim to be progressive now do. Right?
There is you are watching it in the time that you're currently in.
Yes, which is why I find it interesting, because I'm watching it in the time that I'm currently in, thinking about, one, what it's like now, watching it in the time that I'm in, but also trying to think, what would this be like at the time, right? In the time that it came out. Because, you think about, like, the strifes of the 60s and the 70s, right? And racism is a big deal. And you have, the black female, character.
That's huge. That is double the
huge thing back then, right?
Double the double the diversity. Scandalous.
Yes.
Commanding position in a position of
commanding
power.
Position, but you think about it from like a now position, right? But the way that they present it is like, because they're trying to portray the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is such an interesting window into like a time period where, like, what did people in the 60s and 70s, at least in terms of the showrunners of Star Trek, like, think about what the future was going to be? And they present it as this, okay, so there is this multi-diverse, it's normal to have the men and the women's, in positions of power and authority. It's normal to have, the black characters. It's normal to have, all of the stuff that nowadays would be considered, the woke pandering. But I think the difference comes from the delivery and the message that it's sending, right? Because it's not sending a message of like, oh, like the characters are not put in there to be like token, characters of that particular thing. They're just normal fucking characters, right? They're just there being part of the story that they're in, if they are part of that particular episode, because obviously different characters get swapped out per episode, right? Because of how it is, right, with the big cast. And so, I've been finding it really fascinating. And I also did enjoy, especially in the pilot, the original pilot, which is I don't know, you'll know, it's the one with the brain people trying to create, like, the slave race of humans or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that very vaguely.
Yeah, they kidnapped the captain to try and pair him up with another human that they had to try and breed a slave race to save their people or something. And one of the very opening scenes of that was really fascinating, because you had a female character walk into the bridge and hand the captain like a memo or something, and he's like, I'm sorry. He gets startled by her, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not used to women being on the bridge. But then there is a woman on the bridge, because there's another woman, like this smart technician girl is on the bridge, and she just kind of looks at him, and he's just like, oh no, not you, you're different. And I'm like, man, you would not be able to get away with that shit today.
That's very much removed from the actual series.
Product of its time, but that things like that are fascinating though, right? Because it that's part of setting like the mood. Because at the time, that would have been an interesting commentary to have, because it's showing that they believed in the future. Maybe there would still be some holdouts of the sexisms, right? But mostly that problem would have been solved, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
And of course, this is talking about a pilot, and the pilot is meant to be like introducing the show and the setting, and the what the format's going to be, and setting the scene, right? And so having a moment like that in the pilot is fascinating to analyze from a meta perspective, right? And how they viewed the way that they wanted to portray the future. Because since then, it's...
I'm not 100% on how pilots actually work and what the science...
No, me neither. I'm making a bunch of assumptions.
I more believe that the pilot is to gauge popularity and gain favor with the TV guys and paper. my feeling is that Star Trek wanted to be more progressive, but they needed to have that joke, that reference in the pilot, so that the idea is for, look, we're in the future, and then then they remove the joke from the pilot or from the actual show and have presented it as a more normal thing.
Yeah, it was in the version that was on Netflix. So yeah, and then since the pilot, when we get into the actual show, I wouldn't say there's been any of that weird, pseudo sexism stuff, but there's definitely been a lot more. The episode that I just watched was episode 7, which was Mud's Woman, which was the one with the guy who's like trying to pass off these ugly women as beautiful using like the drug so that he could sell them to people, like sell them off as wives. And the whole episode is like, it's actually also really fascinating because it's like that's what constituted as like sexually scanned at the time, like the big hairdos and the dolled up faces and the dresses, right? The tight dress, right? Even though it's not showing a lot of skin, it's like that's what they considered, attractive at the time, right? It's
or scandalous at the time.
Yeah, scandalous at the time. It's very fascinating stuff. Very, very interesting.
So
but that whole episode is really really interesting from like that perspective of like, it's a story all about, abusing women, I guess, in a sense, and the women are somewhat like, 2 of them are kind of in on it, 2 of them aren't, and it's interesting. It's interesting.
So I'm more familiar with Next Generation, the real Star Trek.
It's gonna take me a while to get there, because I wanted to watch the original. I wanted to start from the beginning, and I wanted to kind of work my way slowly through,
Well, you should start with original. Star Trek Enterprise if you want to follow the timeline.
I probably should. I don't know if Enterprise is on Netflix. I'd have to check. I'd have to check because it would depend. I can find it elsewhere if it's.
So in general, the hierarchy of Star Trek is next the original series. Pioneer did some television things, but the Next Generation is peak Star Trek.
Right.
Otherwise, Deep Space Nine is the peakest of Star Trek, or it is a very fun sideshow.
Right.
Then you have Voyager, which is a very mixed bag in quality, but it's Star Trek.
It's the black child of the group. Yeah.
It can be good, it can be bad. It's Star Trek all around. Then you have Enterprise. Sorry, I'm being DSP. Sniffing. Then you have Enterprise, which is odd. It's very much a product of its 9/11 time.
Okay.
Where, the Star Treks were very future, utopia and all that stuff. Enterprise is far more of a we're going out for the very first time into space, and we're having a bunch of problems.
Right.
With here's a conventional sub-light speed colony ship that crash landed on this planet, and the descendants really don't trust humans other than themselves because they are exiles from the past and they're criminals or murderers or whatnot. But the planet is unstable.
So basically Space Australia. I get it.
Yeah. But then they need to convince Space Australia to not live in that cave because it's poisonous. They need to go into another cave. But how do you convince people who have been abandoned by Earth and think they're alone?
To do that, right? No, well, it sounds interesting. Well, like I said, I'm gonna continue the journey. I don't know for how long, but I'll keep going.
Also, at some point, you need to switch over to Orville instead of Star Trek.
I've seen some clips of Orville, and I've heard it's.
Orville is good. It has.
Yeah.
It really captures the classic. No, not classic. You're watching the real classic.
Yeah, I'm watching the real classic of the classic.
You're watching. So, Orville does the progressive Star Trek thing very well. I watched a couple of episodes when it was on the telly. So to spoil something you'll watch in 5 years.
Yeah.
There's a species, a race of basically all males and a female gets occasionally born.
Yeah.
It's basically male sexual reproduction. Occasionally a female gets born, and that's strange. Females are basically taboo. Second-class citizens and they only get banished to a planet because the Space UN complained said no, you can't just kill them, and
Yeah, you can't just kill all the women. Yeah,
you can't just kill all the women, and all right, you can go off to that planet or whatnot, and then we won't kill you. So, but our character, our Worf, our Klingon on the ship, because they're kind of a Klingon analog in that respect. He has a daughter. Uh-oh. And he's very embarrassed.
It's conflict time.
He is very embarrassed about having a daughter. It's almost kind of having a gay son. See what they did there?
Yes.
An entire species of gay being embarrassed about having a daughter.
Oh no!
Like
that's
kind of a slight subtle-ish Star Trek for progressiveness. And eventually they accept having a daughter, and she can sit on the family table eating together. The good analog of having a gay son.
Good messages. Good
messages.
Good stuff. Yes. So yeah. So I figured you'd be proud. You'd be proud.
I am proud.
Watching. Proud dad.
Also,
proud.
very fun fact in Star Trek Voyager, there's a guy with face tattoos.
Oh yeah.
He is inspired by some Native American because he's Cherokee or something, right?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Fun fact: the advisor for the Cherokee tribe and whatnot, the character, made everything up. So they got an advisor for this Native American character. And that advisor was
just bullshit.
Everything he said was fake, and they never really caught it until it's.
That's great. Oh, no.
On that
but
fact,
anyway, yeah. On that fact, I think we're pretty much done. VOD'll be up, and I'll try and add timestamps later on. Hopefully, when the video VOD fixes itself. Hopefully, when the fucking YouTube settings fix themselves. I'll go in and do stuff. But anyway, I hope you guys have had fun. We'll catch you guys maybe next week. See how things go.
Later.
Alrighty, what time is it? It's like 2 o'clock.